Thank you for being here tonight. We're so glad you're here. We're so super excited to have a concert. My name is Kimberly DeSerpa. I'm the board president, and I'm really grateful that you're here and that your parents are here. We welcome you to our board meeting. We would love you to come back if you ever have any comments or issues you want to talk to us about. Tonight's meeting will also be televised. Well, televised, that's live streamed, I guess is the right word. We have a couple of performances tonight we're very, very excited about. If you're here tonight to speak on any issue and it's on the agenda, please fill out a yellow card in the back of the room and bring it up to Ava, who's our board clerk. No, that's not the right thing to say. What is she? Her actual title. Okay, she's the board clerk. She'll pass it down this way, and then we'll call your name up. If there's something you'd like to talk to us about that is not agendized, you can write that under non-agenda items, and that is item 6.1. So thanks for coming tonight. If you would like translation services, we have a translator in the back. Is that you? That's Margarita. Magdalena, lo siento. Do you want to translate that?
Si ocupa traducción, la señora Magdalena Maciel le puede ayudar con eso. Tiene un aparato que le puede obsequiar para ese servicio.
Okay, gracias. And we welcome our board. We have a student on our board, and that is Moriel Mamaril. Did I say it right? Mamaril. Okay. So thank you for being here. We're going to start out tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Can everybody help us with the pledge? We're going to stand up and say the pledge. The flag's over here. It changes positions. Okay, Dr. Rodriguez, will you lead us in the pledge? Yes. Are your comments first? Yeah. Okay, we're going to start out with Dr. Rodriguez making her comments.
Yeah, thank you so much. So in December, we always have the pleasure of having students perform. So it's always one of our favorite presentations, one of our favorite board meetings. And so we'll be listening soon to one of the things that is our commitment to our students, which is 45 minutes worth of music instruction for all elementary children that then goes into a process in middle school and high school where every single child has access to the arts. And so we're lucky to be able to hear from two of our schools today. So one thing that we also have been doing is as we are returning back from breaks, we have been offering our rapid tests to our families. And so I just want to announce that all the schools are receiving them this week, and they'll be sending them out next week. Everybody will be getting a total of 4 tests, so they will be getting 2 boxes. They will look like this now, so it's a different type of test, but it's the same test, but just a different brand. And so what we're asking people to do, we gave this time 4 tests because we had families that some of them were using them during winter break as well. So you have 1 box that you can use whenever you like. And then you have another set of 2 tests that we want you to take on January 6th, which is Friday, right before we come back, and then that Sunday. And that will keep all of us healthy. And then lastly, I want to thank Maria Roscoe. Maria Roscoe is actually, I was hearkening back almost now 7 years ago. She was my very first president when I came in. When I came in, she was president and has been such a fantastic board member. So when you think of Maria, you think of engaged, connected, and student-centered. She's on our DLAC committee, on our green team, on our foundation board, just really does a lot of work. And we're going to miss her as she's going to the city council. We also, Jennifer Shocker is not going to be able to be here tonight, but I appreciate her 4 years of service with us. And luckily, President DeSerpa will continue to be with us, as well as Daniel Dodge Jr. and Jennifer Holm, who all will be sworn in at next week's meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. And next up is item 3.4, student musical presentation.
And Ms. Peggy Pugh, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, is going to introduce the group.
Good evening, Board. Thank you, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. I have the great honor of representing teaching and learning in my role, and our coordinator of VAPA and GATE, Ms. Stephanie Monroe, who is here in a dual role tonight. We have tonight performing for you two amazing student groups, third grade students from Mar Vista Elementary, who will be performing under the direction of their general music education teacher, Ms. Renee Roberts, and they're going to give us a little preview of their winter show. And then to my right and your left, you're seeing an amazing group of scholars over here. These are the advanced band from EA Hall, 7th and 8th grade students, and they are performing under the direction of Alexandria Strain. And we are so excited to have both groups here. So without further ado, we'll invite the Mar Vista Sea Lions and their teacher, Ms. Roberts.
Okay, thanks everybody. That was awesome. Really, really good. This is maybe the first time, I think, in my 12 years that I've had instruments in this boardroom. So I want to thank you for your interest in band. We're really excited that we have music again in our schools. So thanks for coming tonight, everybody. And to the Mar Vista kids, thank you so much for those two beautiful songs. I especially love the Hanukkah song because I celebrate Hanukkah in my house. I'm Jewish, so I loved hearing about the menorah song that I grew up with. So I was very pleased to hear that. So thank you for being here tonight. And you guys can go home with your parents now, okay? Because the rest of what we do is pretty boring. We're going to take a little break while everybody goes. It's okay, Peg, no problem. Okay, everybody. We're going to call the meeting back to order. Hi, everybody. We're going to call the meeting back to order now. If everyone could pipe down a little bit. So next up on our agenda is item 3.5, and that's the governing board comments and reports on standing committee meetings. First up, I think we'll have Jennifer Holm. We only have 4 board members here tonight. And I'm sorry about that, but that's what we have, so.
All right. So I attended the Benefits Committee meeting, very valuable discussions about annual enrollment systems and the challenges with dental coverage, not just for our district, but for in this area in general. I attended the Pajaro Valley Education Foundation meeting, but I'll defer to Trustee Orozco to discuss what we're working on, because I know that's a committee that's near and dear to her heart. I also attended the Aptos High community meeting. Great discussions with staff and family about what is working and where there are areas of growth at Aptos High. And finally, I attended the last of the California State Seal of Civic Engagement Task Force meetings. And through this program, we have an opportunity to support students, such active engagement in local, state, and federal government. And I'm looking forward to sharing the team's recommendation for this program at a future board meeting. So that's it.
Thanks, Jen. Maria?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I did have the opportunity to attend the Pajaro Valley Education Foundation nonprofit meeting. And there's some exciting projects down the path. I won't share too much just yet, but stay tuned for those. It does involve our CT department and partnership with our CT department and the Tiny Home Project. So it's really exciting things that will be happening in the near future in partnership with them. We're also will be looking to expand upon our board of directors, and we hope to be holding our retreat in January so that we can plan the events for the year, whether it's fundraisers or other initiatives such as our Innovator of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Orozco. Danny Dodge?
I just want to say good evening, everybody. Glad to see we have a packed house. This is where your voice is heard, especially to the students. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear what you guys are concerned about, and this is the place to be. Watsonville High School sports is starting up. I've attended, along with my daughter, boys, girls basketball, boys, girls soccer, and I know the Watsonville High School girls softball team is starting to practice. The Garden Project at Mini White is coming along really well, and I'm happy, for the neighborhood and for the school of Mini White to see, small projects being completed. And I just wanted to say thank you to all the office workers. I know, it's winter time, children are sick, teachers are sick, but I just want to say thank you to all the office workers at Mini White, A Hall, Radcliffe, and Watsonville High, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Danny. Tonight we're saying goodbye to Maria Roscoe. So I just have a couple of remarks to make about Maria. And I know Dr. Rodriguez already talked about her, but just from a board perspective, she was very young when she was elected to her first term. How old were you? 24? Yeah, she's 24 years old. On this board, did you have 3 children on this board? So she had 3 pregnancies and 3 deliveries on this board, which I think it's okay if I say you had a C-section, right? And she literally, I don't think did you miss a meeting or maybe one meeting? One meeting. She missed 1 meeting and had 3 children by C-section. Can you imagine that? So the reason I say that is because it shows her deep commitment to the students of this school district and to the teachers and staff that are here and to the administration. Maria cares very deeply about her community, and she's a role model for other young people who want to make a difference in their community. She earned her bachelor's degree and came back, correct? Came back to her community and ran for office. I have really appreciated her thoughtfulness, her courage, and the hard work that she's done on behalf of the community and this district. I will miss her greatly, and she's going to go high places. She's stepping off because she earned a seat on the city council for Watsonville, so we're going to follow her career, and I would not be surprised if she ran for something very high in the future, like Congress or state senate or something very, very important. So anyway, I'm very proud to be her colleague, and I consider her a friend, and I'm going to miss her greatly. So her seat will be vacant, so we're going to be looking for a new board member. So if you guys could spread the word, if anybody knows, Maria's area is area...
It's Area 6, so it covers all of Airport, Freedom, Masti, and parts of Larkin Valley.
So we'll be looking for a good new board member who cares about the district and about the kids. And anyway, so we're going to miss you, Maria. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the work that you've put in. And Jen Shocker isn't here tonight, but I do just want to say that Jen ran for re-election and lost that election. She served a 4-year term, and she was a very hard worker, very engaged, and a very strong advocate for the teachers and staff in this district. And we're really going to miss her voice here at the table. So thanks, Jen, for all of the work. And we do have a new board member who will be taking her seat on December 14th. So we invite you to that ceremony. It's Olivia Flores. Sorry, lo siento. Olivia Flores, and she, we welcome her very warmly, and we look forward to working together to do the right thing for our kids, our teachers, and our staff in this district. So thank you very much. Sorry, our student board member, Moriel, has some remarks to make.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy December. And first, I just wanted to say how much I loved seeing all the students perform. I think it was a great way to start today's meeting. And also, just to recap what I've been doing. So recently, I took a trip to Starlight Elementary with Watsonville High's Echo Academy for the Un Libro a la Vez project. And it was our first meeting of many visits, hopefully, reading to kids from kinder to 5th grade. And it was to promote literacy, and we had a lot of fun with the kids. And also, along with other students from the different local high schools, I was at Aptos High for the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and it was with Dr. Rodriguez. And we just meet to kind of hear each other out and collaborate and work towards making, a better learning environment for everyone. And lastly, I'm currently meeting with high school staff and students. I started with Virtual Academy last week. And this is so I can build connections as a student trustee. And I hope you guys know I'm here to hear everyone and just serve you as part of the board. And I want to figure out the best ways I can support the sites as the official advocate for students. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Moriel. That was great. Next up is our high school student board representative reports, item 3.6. And I think, do we have Watsonville High tonight? Come on up.
Good evening, President DeSerpa and Dr. Rodriguez and board members. My name is Brooklyn.
My name's Aloro.
And we're board representatives representing Watsonville High School.
Great, so let's go ahead and get started. Is this the remote? This one? Okay, great. So the first thing we've done, Watsonville High School hosted the Veterans Day Parade Assembly. So it started off with the Veterans Parade coming down, and then we had volunteers. You can see them all there on the steps. They greeted, handed out waters, and then led them to the performance by the ensemble of the band. And then we had a lunch after that. Everything went pretty swell. It went so well that even the event organizer came by to Watsonville to thank us personally. We thought that was really heartwarming. So shout out to him. Yeah, next one.
So just this Friday, we had our Winter Wonderland workshop hosted by ASB. We had activities such as ornament, bracelet making, and snowman making. We also had cookie decorating. We provided free hot chocolate and candy canes, as well as the Grinch. The senior class actually did have a fundraiser. We sold holiday baskets and gift bags, all which included hot chocolate, plushies, and mugs.
Here's some photos of that. We even had a Grinch walking around, as you can see. Super cool. And yeah, fun time. And now for the Spirit Week we're currently doing right now. So Monday we had cozy matching PJ Day. I mean, PJ Day is always a success. We saw a huge turnout for a bundle up. So it was mainly mittens, scarves, and beanies. And again, huge turnout, pretty successful. And for today we have headwear and fuzzy socks, as you can see. So we got our headwear on. And fuzzy socks, I don't have some to show you, unfortunately. Maybe Brooklyn does. Yeah, look at her. Okay, great. So, and then tomorrow, flannels versus puffers. So, hoping to see how that turns out. And then Festive Ugly Sweater Day. I'm personally looking forward to that one a lot. I got a really cool ugly sweater. So, yeah. And here's some photos so far. So you can see the flannels. Oh, not yet. I mean the PJs at the bottom, the Crocs and the socks, bottom left, and then the headwear, bottom right. So, yeah.
So then a huge shout out to our talented cats. We actually did have a talent show last Friday. All of the performers performed for fun. There was no competition, and it was just really amazing to see. I know everybody in the audience really enjoyed it.
And then I want to give a shout out to Brooklyn because she recently received an Empower Watsonville Youth Award for her involvement in the school athletics and community. So round of applause for her. All right.
And then last but definitely not least, as you guys all may know, our senior cats did turn in UC and CSU applications just recently, November 30th. And the way we celebrated at Watsonville was our bead ceremony during advisory on Tuesday. It was a huge turnout, and we love to see all of our cats succeeding.
Great. So, is that all we got more? And then we have a dress code committee interest form. Are we supposed to show that? No? Oh, ignore that. Sorry. There you go.
Thank you guys for listening. Have a happy holiday and slay.
Thank you so much.
Good job, Wildcats. Thank you. That looks like a lot of fun. Is Diamond Tech here tonight? Oh, we have a video from DTI? Okay, great.
Good evening, President de SERPA, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Dr. Michelle Rodriguez. My name is Luz Moctezuma, and I am the ASB President at Diamond Tech. Our current character education theme for Quarter 2 is caring. We chose caring as the holidays are a great time to reflect and think about those who we care about, as well as those who are in our care. Speaking of caring and community, we have launched our Adopt a Family and have chosen a family from Starlight Elementary School this year. This family is suddenly finding themselves in a single-parent household with a newborn on the way. Please help us support this family in this season, and you can drop off donations at Diamond Tech until December 15th. Our October activities began with our biannual La Pulga. It was another successful event and helped us raise money for ASB. We closed our month with our Spirit Week by pumpkin painting, classroom trick-or-treating, and of course dress up dates the whole week long. Between these two events, we were very busy. Our sophomores and juniors had a Mentor Day panel where they learned more about their mentors and their path to success. It was very interesting to hear there were many different ways to reach our goals. We had another really successful college and career fair this year. We had over 30 representatives to attend from organizations, college, and business and professions. Diamond Tech participated in our first Career and College Expo with ePortfolio Expo with Monterey High School through Foundation for Innovation. Diamond Tech students won over 1,700 in scholarships, and over 50% of our submissions received a micro-credential for ePortfolios. Speaking of all college and career, it was a very last-minute push to submit all the college applications. But we got through it, and over 50% of our senior class submitted applications for a four-year university, and we're looking forward to finding out where everybody will go next year. We did get a chance to get out and have fun a little. We took two field trips. One was to downtown Art Walk, where we saw the PB Arts exhibit and the Digital Nest Media rooms, and the Watsonville Library stop motion experience. We also visited Your Future is Our Business Trades Day. We had an opportunity to do flight simulations with Joby, makerspace with woodworking and metal, and many more opportunities to learn about the local trade state in Santa Cruz County. Lastly, beach volleyball championships were last Friday, and Diamond Tech was not able to defend our 2021 Division I championship title. Even though we only lost one game in the season, we took the second place in the league. Congrats on the great season, White Tigers. Thank you again for the opportunity to share what we have been doing at Diamond Tech. And if you would like to know more about what our school is doing, please don't hesitate to stop by our website or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and come check it out. Happy holidays.
Thank you. During my governing board comments, I failed to acknowledge some donations, so I'm going to do that now. We had donations for the Emerald Lagasse Culinary Teaching and Garden Kitchen from Jonathan Pilch for $200, Chris Beal for $50, Brooke Cohan for $50, and Georgia Mejia for $100, totaling $400 altogether. And we thank them very greatly for their commitment to improving our programs for kids. So thank you to them. I also want to acknowledge the Aptos Sports Foundation. We have something in the consent agenda tonight. They're donating painting of our Aptos Junior High gymnasium, and so we thank Paul Bailey and his board for making that happen. And they had very good things to say about Clint working with you. They said was wonderful. So thanks very much for helping to make that happen. We appreciate it very much. And with that, look for approval of tonight's agenda.
I move to approve.
Looking for a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Item 5.1, approval of November 16th, 2022 board meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstaining? Did you vote? Yeah? Yeah. Motion carries 403. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is our visitor non-agenda items. This is a time for public comment on anything not on the agenda, and there's 2 minutes for comment.
All right, so we do have 30 speakers to this item. So each speaker will be given 2 minutes, and I will be calling throughout a time. So if you can please line up in front of the podium just so that we can facilitate the process. Okay, so first we have Juliana Murgia, followed by Natalie English and Yesenia Diaz.
Testing. Okay, good evening, everybody. So my public comment for today's meeting is talking about teacher wages and how all the teachers that we have here, they're awesome and great, and they wake up every day with so much energy for them just to go to their job and not have like the enough money for them. And we really think that they really deserve a raise. And I'm here with my group. All of this started as of just the final government, but after all the research and everything, we realized that it was not just a project. It was a really, really big issue that we've been fighting for quite a while. And we did a Google form, and it was over 400 students that voted that teachers do deserve a raise, and it doesn't also affect teachers but it also affects students with our education. And it's not fair that we have to make up credits just because teachers aren't there to support us. And teachers are the heart of everybody. Why? Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are now. And that's it. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Natalie. I'm talking about the same exact thing of how the teachers deserve a pay raise. The district should use its considerable unutilized cash to compensate teachers at least 1% of their salaries. The teachers shouldn't have to have a second job in order to cover living expenses, maintain their vehicles, or feed their families. They spent almost 6 years in college, obtained their master's degree, and became teachers. They want to be teachers so they could assist these children in getting an education. And if they find themselves unable to pay their expenses because of the salary, that should say something. It shouldn't be necessary for teachers to decide between receiving a raise and paying for it out of their health insurance, or receiving better coverage while earning less money. No matter what, they and everyone else should have access to health care. Teachers don't want to come work in the district due of the low compensation, which results in learners having long-term replacements instead of teachers. Due to the absence of an instructor, the student is in question do not receive any credit. Due to having a substitute, those students are not learning anything and believe it is acceptable to skip class and not complete their assignments. Thank you.
My name is Yesenia Diaz, and I am currently a senior at Watsonville High School. In our school, everyone is sold a true and complete education. We can all agree that teachers and students make up the school district. Without our teachers, our students wouldn't have the proper education we need. Teachers have gone through a lot of schooling just to end up at a job that doesn't provide enough to live comfortably. This is affecting all of us. Teachers are moving away, students are not showing up to class, and overall, no one is benefiting from the lack of common resources. Oftentimes, students are left with permanent substitutes, which may lead students to be behind in their curriculum. Teachers are wasting their prep periods substituting for other classes that don't have a teacher. This problem comes back to the students, and they are the ones to deal with the consequences. Because of this, students don't get their work graded, which causes their grade to be affected. Not to mention, security guards are becoming our teachers, and we have normalized it. Sometimes teachers and staff are not enough to cover up these classes. Classes are brought to the gym to spend their class period there. This creates a tense and unstable environment between students and staff. Students are having to make up classes that didn't even have a teacher to start off with. This is affecting our eligibility to qualify for colleges. High school preps us for our upcoming future. It would be reasonable to get properly ready for it. It's time for students and teachers to get what they deserve. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Bobby Pels, followed by Caitlin Johnson and Rita Ramirez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bobby Pels, and I'm an ethnic studies teacher at Watsonville High School. I'm very concerned about the teacher shortage at our school, and I'd like to share a story with all of you. Several weeks ago, I was called in to be an emergency sub for an agricultural mechanics class on campus, and I had to sub for this class because the teacher who was going to teach the class left for a higher paying job. The long-term sub that had to cover for him also left for a higher paying job. And now, here the students find themselves stuck with teachers like me who are losing time in their own classes because they're forced to cover classes like this on their prep. The lesson that I was given asked the students to use markers and poster paper to create shop safety posters. While I was reading out the activity and handing out the supplies, it became clear to me that they had already done this lesson. In fact, they had done it 3 times. I was now giving it to them for the 4th time. Making shop posters. Is this what we mean when we say PVUSD cares? One student told me that he had realized what was happening and he tried to transfer out of the class. He wanted to take another class that actually had a teacher where he might learn something. The counselor told him that he couldn't transfer out. This is a kid that's actually trying to do something about his own education, and we're the ones that are telling him no. Is this how we lift up our students? You have to recognize that we can't keep losing our teachers to better paying jobs, to better paying districts, and retirement. We have to compete. So when you negotiate with the teachers union, I suggest you think long and hard about what it's going to take to keep teachers here, and you pay the money. Otherwise, stories like mine are going to keep happening more and more, and we're going to keep failing our students. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I brought a visual aid because I'm a really good teacher. All right, so this is me and all of us and what we're worth, and I have 25 years of experience as a bilingual educator, K-12, and this doll is going to help me explain to you how it feels to work at PVUSD. All right, so after 25 years, okay, so I'm going to keep handing them to you. After 25 years, I make $87,000 at PVUSD. I'm getting smaller. I'm feeling devalued. I would make this much at Salinas City Schools, $99,000. Santa Cruz City Schools, $107,000. Santa Clara County, $137,000. Carmel, $141,000. We should be paid more.
Yes.
Okay, oh, I'm getting smaller. All right, so this is for the additional work I've had to do to cover for unfilled teaching positions at my site. So far this year, I have lost 22 hours of prep. That is a month's worth of precious prep time lost. We should be paid more. Getting smaller. All right, I've also had to cover for shortages in other departments. Here is for having to clean my own floors on and off for 2 years. We should be paid more. Continuing to be devalued. This is for working in an unsafe environment because we do not have enough campus safety supervisors. We should be paid more. This is for working in and through a pandemic and now a tridemic and continuing to be exposed at work. I got another exposure notice today. I'm a frontline worker. We should be paid more. This is for the money, my own money, that I spend every year to cover supplies for my students because our education system isn't funded enough. This is for the fact that after 25 years, I cannot afford to retire in my own community. And last but not least,
Thank you.
this is what I feel. This is how the inflation has greatly increased the cost of living. This
Thank
is how
you.
little devalued I feel. This is what we're worth.
Good evening. Do you realize what's happening in some of the schools in your district? Teachers are so beaten down with insulting and demoralizing professional development that some of your most excellent, dedicated teachers are either leaving those schools or wanting to quit the profession entirely. How is that going to raise test scores? How is that going to help students with their mental health challenges? How about trying to raise morale by recognizing teachers' strengths and building on them? In my 39 years of teaching, including 2 years at an international school in Switzerland, the most powerful PD was always working with my collaboration team. The second most useful PD was naturally the one I was allowed to choose. It makes sense, doesn't it, that teachers would be aware of what they need? When there's an environment of trust, we can share our strengths, as well as feel safe to ask for help with our challenges. 1 year, my team got the largest improvement in ELD in the entire district. Did anyone ask us how we achieved this result? No. The following year, we were told that we needed to stop doing what we were doing and teach using the new ELD program, Carousel. It was a disaster. I felt so guilty to have used such dumbed-down material with my students. I speak 4 languages besides my native dialect. Language is acquired when a person is motivated by interesting material and a desire to access it. I never saw an interesting ELD program during the 37 years in this district. However, at the international school in Switzerland, the students spoke several languages and learn them quickly. Those students are no smarter than our students here. Our language learners are always starting to fail around 4th grade. They've never had supported access to nonfiction text, and all of a sudden they're supposed to read and comprehend it. To learn a language, it's necessary to have the courage to make lots and lots of mistakes. Students are willing to do a lot for supportive, encouraging, enthusiastic teachers, not for a demoralized, insulted, and exhausted teacher. My hope is that you will take this information into consideration and not just ignore it, and
Thank you.
continue to do what you've been doing.
Okay, so next up we have Brenda Ortiz, followed by Becca Berryman and Erika Cavain.
Is this on? Okay. Good evening. My name is Brenda Ortiz. I'm a proud social-emotional counselor at Lakeview Middle School. I was born here in Watsonville, raised in Mexico. I'm here today to talk about how exhausted, overwhelmed, and stressed out I am. I'm not a teacher, but I constantly find myself subbing even though I'm not supposed to. Why? Because I care about my school. I care about my students. And it's really sad and heartbreaking to see how all the teachers who have a big heart want to help the students, but every day, they have to sub twice, 3 times a day. Or new vice principal one time had to sub 3 classes in the G5 classroom, which is the biggest class. And there was a safety concern because we also only have one campus supervisor. The one campus supervisor that we had was taken away and was sent to PV High. He was effective. We need him back. So I'm here because we need a raise. It's not an inflation. I lived here in Watsonville for about 10 years. I'm an English language learner. I'm a proud Wildcat. Even though I came here in high school, I learned the language, I work hard, and it's really hard to see how now that I'm a professional, all my colleagues are suffering. And we have the heart, but the lack of support from PVUSD is taking our soul away. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Becca Berryman, and I teach at Calabasas Elementary. Tonight we are here yet again to ask for the same thing we have been asking for years. We are here to ask for a livable wage. I am currently on my 8th year teaching, and I still have to work in the after-school program multiple days a week in order to afford living in Santa Cruz County. The 2021 to 2022 year-end reserve for PVUSD increased by $20 million from the previous year, and yet PVUSD is still unable to find the money to give us a raise. Our teacher salary has increased by only 2%, even with PVUSD's $59 million reserve. Board members, we are begging you to please pay us a livable wage so we can continue serving the community and students we care so deeply for. This year, PVUSD still has over 20 classrooms without teachers. When that number is doubled or even tripled next year, that lies squarely on your shoulders. We need your support. Vote by the PVUSD motto and lift us up.
Good evening. When I first started teaching, I felt rich. I could afford my own apartment, car, food, investing, and a vacation. I chose a district with a high salary for beginning teachers. I had small class sizes, no extra duty requirements. Our schools each had a full-time credentialed art, music teachers, and a librarian. New teachers received a yearly stipend for professional development, national conferences, and workshops. There was plenty of money for classroom supplies. This was 20 years ago. I don't need to tell you that teaching has changed over the past 20 years, and especially the past 3. I don't need to talk about COVID's impact on the classroom, how teachers adapted to the teaching from their homes, and some like me with a potty training toddler underfoot, and a CZU fire evacuation in the mix. I taught on the road for a week. I do need to talk about students and essential workers who serve them. I don't need to talk about the substitute and teacher shortages that daily pull teachers from their planning periods and leave students wondering who's going to be there for them. I do need to talk about inflation and the housing market. The 1,300 square foot home that my family rented for 9 years became untenable due to COVID-delayed roof repairs. In the current market for the same price, my family can now afford a studio apartment. That's a rent increase of 39%. I now qualify for low-income housing. We live in 500 square feet. The teacher's salary at step 2, step 10, column 3 has increased by an average of 2.2%. I don't need to tell you this is insufficient. I urge you to invest fully in the teachers now and the future. I don't need to tell you students deserve highly qualified teachers, librarians, art, and music. These people not only enrich our lives, they help us build them. I do need to tell you about many teachers I know who have left the district for higher pay, retired early, or quit the teaching profession altogether. These are incredibly talented teachers, and the loss directly impacts students. The most important investment we can make is to our future. The highest possible salary increase to retain and attract highly qualified teachers will directly impact our students and their future. This year, the slogan is Together We Lift Up. Please don't put it in a mug or on a reusable straw. Put it in the salary schedule. You say you want to lift up this community? Lift us up.
Okay, so next up we have Jason, Holly, and Jessica Corona.
I am a third-year teacher with a freshly shaven mohawk today because it's crazy hair day at school. Done with induction, tenured, thinking about whether or not I want to stay. I love my job. I love my coworkers. I love my students. I like what I do. I like what I teach. Love for my job is not enough to support a future for me here. Inflation is 8%, 1% up from last year. Why is the district only offering 8% raise? Inflation is not under the district's control, sure, but how inflation impacts its employees, its community, is surely part of its responsibility. If there are no economic reassurances provided either from my living environment or wages from my place of employment, I'll be forced out to find another job. Here are rental prices just from a quick search on Craigslist. My take-home pay is about $3,000 right now, by the way. Let's see. Actually on Craigslist. Okay, studio in Seacliff, $2,200. Centrally located, walkable, available now, $3,100. Guest house on Mediterranean style estate, washer and dryer, pet friendly, $2,400. An 8% raise is about an additional $250 on my monthly paycheck, by the way. Where do your responsibilities lie? If the end years with PVSC's inability to meet my needs, it will not retain employees like me, a specialized degree in education, credentialed teacher who loves his job. Where do your responsibilities lie?
Good evening to you, Superintendent Dr. Rodriguez and Board of Trustees. My name is Holly Oda, and I am the Aptos High and Aptos Junior High Choral Director. I would like to pose an analogy. I like to think that if I were managing a store and my employees started leaving, I would assume there was something more I should be doing and would take action. I like to think I would promptly address the situation rather than waiting and watching for years for things to become desperate. I like to think that I would notice and acknowledge that without my store being properly staffed, my customers would not be receiving the quality of service that they deserved. That I would see the suffering of my customers exhibited by their mental illness, their self-harming, their use of controlled substances in order to self-medicate. that I would see that they could no longer enjoy and benefit from being in my store, and that in many cases they no longer wanted to come to my store at all. Unfortunately, this is not entirely hypothetical. The district has ignored the disillusionment and depletion of its teaching staff. It has brought a stubbornness to contract negotiations, further exacerbating problems that were already present prior to the pandemic. It has failed to see the students as the customers that are suffering. It resents providing medical benefits for teachers that just might enable them to take care of their own mind-body health so that they could then provide some sense of stability for their students. This sends a message of apathy to staff, students, and student families. The district must aggressively seek to take as many excess expectations off of teachers and show them their due respect by offering the kind of salary raises that would undeniably say, I see how dedicated you are and how the students' welfare is centermost in your mind at work and when you are away from work. You deserve to be well taken care of so that you can keep bringing the passion and expertise you possess to our hungry students. Please stay here and tell us what you and the students need most so that we may serve you. Thank you for your time.
Hello, members of the board and Dr. Rodriguez. My name is Jessica Corona. I'm a third grade teacher at Calabasas Elementary. I want to talk on a little different subject on the effects on our students and give you some specifics at our site. So in our third grade, our third graders have missed reading intervention 18 days so far this year. That is also coupled with the 16 days they did not get intervention on Wednesdays because of intervention teacher shortage and intervention teachers being pulled in from into other classes. Just those 18 days and figuring where that is in our school year, and because I teach Bridges math, or maybe in spite of it, I can know that that's a 29% loss. These third graders are the ones that are reading at a kinder or below kinder level. They need this intervention. When I see these high schoolers that are soaring and here and successful, I am worried about the future for these future third graders and every student at our school. Today we had a staff meeting and we had to fill out our master schedule. We totaled up our instructional time and the required time on the curriculum. 34.5 hours were with the students. We're expected to teach 38.8 hours in the curriculum. SIPs, benchmark, Bridges, all have to say, many of it dry, not interesting. I'm going to reiterate what Rita said. Students will not learn if they do not have things like science, technology, social emotional learning. There is not time for those things. Yes, they get art once a week. We have no time to do art with our own students. Please do better.
Next up, we have Darcy Balby, followed by Rachel and Caroline West.
Hello, my name is Darcy Valby, and I'm an adult ed teacher. And I'm actually a teacher. I'm giving you a card about my school. I work for the Santa Cruz Parent Education Nursery School. We were absorbed by PVUSD when you all thankfully took on all of adult ed. So PVUSD serves the whole county. I work with parents that live all over this county, and I teach them to help their children and to learn about significance and belonging. And as a teacher, and all of us teachers here, we're looking to share with our students, but we also need to feel significance and belonging. For me to be a model, for my parents to be a model to their children, they're looking to me and they're asking questions. I want to say thank you, and that I see that at PVUSD, you've started a parent engagement department and a parent education team. These are things that we have as well. The teachers in these co-op preschools teaching and listening to parents, and as teachers, parents look to us and they're concerned and they are seeing what's happening in our school district. And so I just ask that you really pay attention to the feedback of these students, the feedback of families, and the feedback, of course, of this wonderful group of teachers, because we're really looking for the significance and belonging that we can also share with those that we impact every day. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rachel. Thank you, board members, and I just real quick wanted to say, Maria, good luck. I'm sorry to see you go, and I wish Jennifer Shocker was here so I could say the same. I am an MSD 4th and 5th science teacher, and in addition to a very significant pay raise this year and the next 2 years, I want 3 years of raises, I would like you to encourage your negotiation team to approve contact language regarding subbing. My colleagues are tired of subbing. In addition to contract language that we get paid, thank you for that, but we want time. We would like teachers to have time from meetings on Wednesday that they lost. They don't want to work at home anymore. We would like to limit the number of times we sub per week or month. It's too stressful to lose your prep twice. If you are an elementary teacher, you might lose it twice. Yep. If you have prep on Mondays and Fridays, poor you. So here it is. December 7th, no sub. December 1st, no sub. I don't know, no sub. 22nd, November 22nd, no sub. You ready for this one? November 10th, 5 unfilled absences. 5. November 8th, 3 absences unfilled. November 7th, 2 absences unfilled. November 1st, 2 absences. We got a sub though, woo woo, just one sort. 2 subs, but we were still short 1. Oh, again, October 21st, no sub. October 20th. Oh, I ran out of time. 27 days of no subs at MSD is too much. Okay.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I heard Caroline, and I'm like, okay, that must be me. It's close enough. My name is Carolyn West. I'm one of the school nurses. Greetings, board. President of SERPA, Dr. Rodriguez. I'm kind of back again. I want to let you know I love my teachers. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm the product of excellent teachers. My grandfather was an economic teacher who served with MacArthur. My mom was a psychologist who also taught ESL. My son has autism, and his early ed teachers helped us navigate the SPED world. This led me to work in the schools. I have 4 schools right now. Some days I'm at 3 out of 4 of them. The past week and a half, I've covered health offices 6 out of the 8 days that I've been working because we have so many people, health assistants out sick. I've had new nurses reaching out to me, the agency nurses and some of the nurses that were just hired for support, and I don't have time to call them, which I feel really bad about. I'm a preceptor. I precept credential students, so not being able to reach out and support somebody just really makes me upset. It makes me really upset. I'm afraid we're going to lose these new staff that we've had brought on because they're not feeling supported, and that just breaks my heart. There are no subs for the health assistants or the nurses. There aren't any. There isn't anybody. They don't exist. I know we're told they're going to look like, oh yeah, we'll find somebody. There isn't anybody. The hiring efforts for health staff feels lukewarm. If we can't hire more health staff, we need to look at a new nursing model or new health services model. Please value the teachers and my fellow nurses as much as I do. I've been a nurse for 29 years. We've been looking out for you. Could you please look out for us? Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Janelle Cadenas Carrillo, Ana Lilia Rivera, and Chris Webb.
I don't think I'm gonna need this. I have a very loud voice. Good evening.
This is going live stream.
Oh.
At home are watching, so we need to know they hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought it was just for like the speakers. Okay. Good evening, the board, Dr. Rodriguez, parents, students, teachers. I believe that it is not fair how you guys are treating our teachers. You know, they work very hard. They pass. They bring work from work to home, and it's not fair that, you know, they sometimes neglect the responsibilities they have at home because of the responsibilities from work. Yes. It is very unfair that some kids are getting neglected from their parents, or the work is getting neglected from the teachers because of this. There is no healthy balance for teachers in this district. They are being very unvalued and paid way less than they deserve. You know, they are helping us students shape our lives for the future, and they do not deserve the pay that they get. They deserve more. Especially with inflation going on, especially with the pandemic, they're exposing themselves and exposing their family members that have very serious health conditions. They're kids that are born with health conditions that are very serious. I have an aunt that works for you guys. She was battling breast cancer, and luckily she survived. And if she was in a case where she was a teacher and risked her life, there could have been a negative impact. How would you guys feel if you guys lost someone that worked for your district that was being unpaid and had, you know, the negative? It would not be fair, and especially for you having to deal with that loss.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ana Lilia Rivera. I am a student at Pajaro Valley High School. I am here today to advocate for my education. Our teachers are not being paid enough. Last year, I did not have a physics teacher, which resulted in my education from being deprived from me. Due to the lack of educational support, I feel unprepared for my future. My English teacher and 100 other educators left this district stating they were looking for work elsewhere. The lack of teachers resulted in multiple classes sitting outside the cafeteria regardless of the weather. I was part of one of those classes. I should not have to sit outside the cafeteria because you all don't want to pay these teachers, even though there was $59 million left over in 2021 and 2022. At first, a first-year teacher gets paid more than a teacher with more experience over in Los Gatos. Do you think a student from Los Gatos deserves a stable education more than me? What if this was your kid's education at stake? Would you keep the system the same, or will you finally make a change? Thank you for your time.
I'll give you 3 seconds.
All right, I'll take it. I want to express my pride for Renaissance student leadership and thank the teachers who've taken extra duties on to make that happen. I want to say that the technical glitches that occurred when they presented, I'll take responsibility for that and make sure it doesn't occur again. I also hope that Renaissance students, I really appreciate Watsonville students, I appreciate all the students who come and speak their truth. I really hope the Renaissance ones will come and share their experience, especially the changes, the people who are recently graduating, because I feel like they could share things and bring clarity and correct some of the misunderstandings that exist within this building about Renaissance. I also want the record to show that in our time, Dr. Rodriguez, because we came here about the same time, the only time Renaissance has ever had a negative WASC report was last year when we didn't have our student progress monitoring system. So I just want that to be on the record. And we have yet to recover from some of the harms that have come from top-down planning. And part of when I came here, I took a 10K pay cut. And I've stayed because we have been making a difference at Renaissance. And when we undermine the functionality, it makes it harder to be here. And God knows it's not the pay. So, like, you know, if I need something. I need to be able to make a difference. And if people are getting in my way, it makes it harder to stay. And we serve students by respecting the teachers. So it's not even just about pay, it's about respecting us as professionals. Also, raises need to exceed cost of living increases. And the other thing, if we have these high reserves, it's really like a slap in the face when we're not keeping up with inflation. Thank you.
All right, so next up we have Donna Lefevre, Veronica Gallagher, and Stephen Lefevre.
Hello, my name is Donna Lefevre. I'm a math teacher at Watsonville High School. We're hit really hard over there. We're hit hard everywhere in this district. One thing I want to talk about, as a math teacher, trying to teach my kids perseverance through problem solving. A common behavior that I run into when kids are overwhelmed with a problem is avoidance. And this is something I've seen. This is a common behavior that I have observed in the response from Dr. Rodriguez about concerns that get brought up to her regarding vacancies in the district. The response, well, this is a national problem. That's an avoidance response. We are actively looking on EdJoin. That hasn't been successful for years. So another avoidance response. All right. Right now, I'm being forced to work overtime, intimidated even. I was so exhausted from my day-to-day work as a teacher. The workload it's debilitating sometimes. I told them I could not sub on my prep. I'm exhausted. I'm protecting myself. And apparently, 5 days of advocating for myself is the threshold before I start receiving disciplinary action because I was called in. 200 plus teachers lost their prep since November 16th. 200 plus teachers. That's 13 school days. And you know what? If we had 5 people per day, we would have had it covered. But you are not sending people. And these are extreme vacancies in our subpool. We have extreme vacancies in a lot of our classified support that could be coming into the classroom, that could relieve some of the work that we're putting in. And we're not getting it, and you're just continuing to avoid it. I need you to be more creative. I need you to figure out how to support us.
My name is Veronica Gallagher, and I've been a teacher at H.A. Hyde for 26 years. At the last school board meeting I attended, I ended with a quote from Dolores Huerta, but my comments got cut off. So this time I'll start with it because it's a really powerful quote, and our union members and all of you really need to be listening. Dolores Huerta said, "I think organized labor is a necessary part of democracy. Organized labor is the only way to have a fair distribution of wealth. Every school board member should be supporting organized labor. Every administrator should be as well. We need to work on a fair distribution of wealth in PVSD. Let's start with the classified staff. I was so heartbroken and upset to hear the comments from the hardworking and very low-paid bus drivers in our district. They are working full-time, even split shifts, but they are not being paid a living wage. They make like $17 to $20 an hour. which is basically minimum wage. This is also what you pay substitute teachers, $20 an hour, and special ed aid. Some classified staff even work beyond 6 hours a day, and they still don't have health benefits because they have certain duties in the morning, certain duties in the afternoon, so you just don't pay them health benefits? Isn't that illegal? The low pay and unfair treatment of our classified staff, our substitute teachers, and our new teachers is causing this crisis of staff shortages in our district. The superintendent, who makes $250,000 a year, and her highly paid assistants are increasing income inequality and poverty in Watsonville. It's shameful and inequitable. It's called unfair labor practices. The workers of PVUSD need to step up our demands.
Thank you.
Get inspired by the UC workers.
Yes.
Let's
Thank
get
you.
organized, for God's sake.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Lefevre. I'm a resource teacher at Rolling Hills Middle School, and I've been a special education teacher in this district for 5 years. Special education teachers work with the most vulnerable populations, and our students really need and deserve experienced educators, and yet we continue to be grossly understaffed with our instructional assistants, teachers, and service providers. The first month of the school year at Rolling Hills, one of our resource teachers quit the second week, and they couldn't fill the position. So each of the special education teachers' caseloads and classes increased drastically. Some of my classes doubled. They told us this was temporary, but then later they told us this was how it's going to be for the rest of the year. The classroom and caseload sizes are too large. We are not able to meet the social, emotional, and academic needs of our students. The district needs to pay a living wage and decrease the class sizes if we truly care about the students and want to provide equitable access to the content for all students. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Cindy, Pam, and Adriana.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Dr. Rodriguez and the board. This is my first time ever presenting in front of you guys. I'm a little nervous, but I'm thank you. I'm a Renaissance High School math teacher. I'm also an after-school teacher at Watsonville High School. I'm a single mom of a special needs 11-year-old son, and I'm here to talk about what I'm going through right now. It's very expensive to live in this area, and I have a mortgage. I pay a lot for my mortgage. I'm talking in really simple language, but just today I went to get my new glasses, okay, over here at Spectrum Eyeglass. These lovely glasses, which I desperately need, mine are broken, they cost me close to $700 above what your vision, my vision benefit package covers. So I'm out of pocket $700, and I don't know where I'm going to get that money from. My after-school paycheck they take a lot out for taxes and whatever my retirement. So it's very expensive to do this. I also have to go get a dental implant procedure, and apparently that's considered cosmetic. So I don't really need to show you my tooth, but basically I do want to eat with it, and maybe I don't need to eat with it because I've gained a lot of weight during the last couple of years due to the pandemic, and I'm stressed out all the time. I practically live at Starbucks, guys. I practically live at Starbucks. Every day after school, I go there to finish my grading, lesson plan, everything I can, because I can't do it at my job site. I love my job, trust me. I have no complaints there. But I do have to put a lot of time into it. Maybe I'm avoiding the fact that my kid needs me right now, and there's a lot that I need to do for my newly discovered special needs son. But in addition to that, I know that I have control over this. I have control over how I am a teacher in my classroom. Every day I bring gratitude. I ask my students to think about what we're grateful for every day. We do mindful walks. I do mindful art. But I just want to make sure that you guys
Thank
know we need help. We need help. It's not just enough. We need a better salary, and we need support, and we need not to be working overtime.
Hi, I'm Pam Sexton, and I'm a teacher at Watsonville Adult School. I teach at the Rodriguez site, and right now, this term, I'm the only ESL teacher there. I'm here also on behalf of other adult ed teachers. A lot of our adult ed teachers teach right now at night. One of the beauties so they couldn't be there and asked me to speak here. One of the beauties of our adult ed program for our ESL, for our Learning Center program, they're open entry. Students can come anytime. They can stay as long as they want, as long as they need. When they have emergencies, they need to take a break, but then they can come back. Some of my students, I have a student who's 84 right now. I mean, students who want to learn, there's a place for them. When we don't have enough teachers, then we're not there for our community. And so adult ed serves 18 years old to 80, at least 84. In my class, I have 18 to 84. When we don't have enough teachers, we're doing a disservice to our community. So I also want to say that our adult ed program, it covers the whole county. It serves folks who are often on the periphery. And it also serves students of K-12, of our ECE students. And I want to express my strong solidarity with all of our classified staff, all of my other fellow students here throughout the district. And the money is there. Please support the people doing the work.
Thank you.
Good evening to all. My name is Adriana Ibarra. I've been part of this celebration, in this community for 18 years at Pajaro Valley High School. I'm also a tia in this district of 11 years with a student athlete graduating next year from Pajaro Valley High School. I'm also a mommy in this district of 8 years with a preteen at Rolling Hills. I've been hopeful. I've been understanding. I've been complacent, but I'm feeling very let down and very devalued. There have been some changes to this profession, if you haven't noticed, and it's super crucial that our community of teachers, new and veteran, feel that they are appreciated and given their worth. We have picked up the art of subbing a class and the science of subbing a class, the language of subbing a class in both English and in Spanish, the social of subbing, and the special in subbing a class. If you didn't catch on, we're subbing in all areas and a hell of a lot. And then we stress on how and when we are going to do our administrative work, grades, learning goals, mandated professional development, etc. I'm also the department chair. I have one new teacher and one long-term, both at the 11th grade level. I need to be there to support them. Guess where I am? They caught on. I've been let down. And instead of honoring our time, our sanity, it's always, please help with supervision as we are yet again short-staffed on our campus security. You must complete this PD, complete this collaboration. And there we are complying. We are asking that you make our district competitive, comparable, desirable, attractive for your employees to stay and the new ones to come.
Thank you.
We're asking for a 15% raise. Fill the cup. It's your words. Fill the cup.
Thank you.
And if not, what would you do?
So next up we have Brandon, followed by Laura and Jessica. Denise.
Okay. Brandon Denise, VP of SPED for the PVFT. I'd like to thank the members of the board who actually are here, because apparently Georgia, Oscar, and Jennifer had somewhere more important to be, which what could be more important than being here for the community? And it's not the first time that some of these members just blow this off. I can talk all night about how being a special education teacher in this district is untenable. We have elementary sites with half a resource teacher. How can students be assessed and qualify for special education without having a full-time RSP teacher on the site? We have IEPs being written by virtual case managers who don't know the students, have never worked with the students, never met them, don't assess them, and rely on the overburdened and stressed out teacher on that site to give them the data they need to write a half-assed report. Tonight, the first interim budget will be presented, and I will tell you the money is there. We are going to hear the same garbage we hear year after year. Last year, there was a projection that we were going to be running a deficit of $4.4 million. Guess what? We ended up with $20 million in surplus. The money is there. I don't know how to reconcile these numbers when we face this issue year after year. Maybe your numbers people attended schools in the PVSD who don't have a math teacher. It could be that. Maybe they never had a math teacher, or maybe, just maybe, there is an intentional effort to lie to the public, to mislead your teachers, and continue to make excuses. The money is there. You can afford to pay your teachers what the PVFT is asking in negotiations. That is a fact. Stop lying to us, stop misleading the public, and give your teachers what they deserve, which is a living wage. The only way to recruit and retain qualified teachers is with on-salary pay increases, not one-time off-salary payments. If we want to compete with the districts over the hill, who year after year are bleeding teachers with this district, from this district, who they only want a living wage, the only way to do that is to compensate your certificated staff, nurses, psychs, teachers, up and down the board with a pay increase on the salary schedule that gives us a living wage. Stop providing lip service and lies and start providing us a living wage.
Hello. I just want to say hello, Dr. Rodriguez and the rest of the board. And I do want to say, Maria, thank you for being here all these years. You have been very much appreciated, as has Jennifer, and you'll both be missed immensely. Wow, it's pretty intense in here tonight. And, you know, I just want you all to know that I really do believe that you all care very deeply. I really believe that. And I just think there's somewhat of a disconnect. I mean, you're all board members, you represent certain districts, and you've been working your butts off. I know, you know, the wellness centers and the Starlight Garden, and trying to get, you know, use the money that we're getting from the state to make sure it funnels to the kids. I do see that that's happening. But, you know, I rarely see you on our sites. And I just think we all get so caught up in our own little worlds, myself included. I'm not in your shoes. But I think it's really important for us going forward is that the board members who represent the certain schools go visit them. Like, I'm going to make a concerted effort to invite our new person in and have them make appointments to come into our school site and just get to know us a little bit better. And, you know, I know that time can be tight, but it's really important. You can hear the anger and the frustration, but there's also a lot of sadness and desperation that's behind those words. And I mean, I've been an elementary school teacher for years, and we're still seeing a deficit in 4th and 5th grade. Like, I'm a reading intervention teacher for K-3, which is great that it's funded. We need the foundational reading, but especially given COVID, we still have 4th and 5th graders who just aren't making the grade. And there's no support for them. There's no intervention. The classified staff is great, but we don't have enough. So just keep putting the money into getting the classified staff in our sites so we can address 4th and 5th graders.
So we have Jessica Carrasco, Ryan Olivas, and Christian Fine.
Do I press this one? Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Carrasco. I'm a social studies teacher at Watsonville High School. And I'm going to share a quote with you. Be the person you needed when you were young. This is the quote that I have in my classroom. That's the reason why I decided to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher for students who they needed, who they could relate to, who they could talk to, who they can talk Spanish to, who they felt safe with, who did not judge them. I wanted them to share memories that we both had at Ramsey Park. I wanted them to know that I played soccer on the same fields that they played soccer with their families, aunts and uncles. And I wanted them to see that they too could be a teacher and they too could be leaders in this community. I wanted them to see the possibilities of their future, because too often we grow up not seeing people that look like us in positions of power. And I really wanted to change that for them. Students always ask me why I teach if we don't get paid a lot. They ask how long will I stay, because according to them, teachers always leave. I explain to them that because I am from this community, this is where I want to work, that I can't see myself working in any other community, but I know deep down inside that I fear staying in this profession as a single mother with a 2-year-old, paying for my credential program out of my own pocket. Like many teachers here, I'm here because I believe teachers in this district need a raise. I fear that if nothing changes, you will no longer have people who these students need. I have been told by my students, if you leave, Ms. Carrasco, we understand, because we would do the same. Last year, we lost half of our social studies teachers at Watsonville High School, and it makes me so sad to lose some really good coworkers who I've learned so much from. It makes me sad that I have to take work home and not be able to spend it with my family. I'm not going to be that person they need. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have very little to add that hasn't been said already, but I'm going to start with a quote also. My name is Ryan Olivas. I'm a teacher at PV High. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, love mercy now, walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Teachers do the work. We're the ones that build up the next generation to take on the enormity of the world's grief. We live in dark times. We're trying to shine a light. We want to stay here in this district shining that light. I'm a special education teacher. It's special. It's in the name, right? It's special. It's different from general education. And I have to teach new teachers every year at my school. We keep losing teachers. They're going over the hill. They're going just to Santa Cruz. They're going to PG. They're going to Morgan Hill. They live here. They're just driving a couple extra miles for some extra money. We're down to 3 instructional aides. My instructional aides keep leaving for more money in different places. We're probably going to lose another one when we come back from the break. We need more money. The money's there. Give it to where the work is being done. Teachers are doing the work. Thank you.
Christian, before you begin, I'm going to call up the last speaker under this item, and that's Will. Oh, you can go. I was just, sorry.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board members. Good evening, Superintendent Rodriguez. My name is Christian Fine. I'm a teacher for adult education here at the district office, and I help adults get their GEDs and high school diplomas. I also help students, high school students in the district, catch up on their credits if they're falling behind so they can graduate on time with their peers. I'm here to advocate for prep time for adult ed teachers. We're not currently paid for any prep time. I don't think we ever have been. And I want to let you know that we're not paid the same way that the rest of the teachers in the school district, at least in K through 12 are. I understand they're paid a salary. All adult ed teachers are paid an hourly wage. So we're paid just the hours that class time lasts. So we're not paid for any time outside of teaching time. So there really is no prep time at adult ed. This is harder for some teachers in some departments than others, especially our ESL teachers. We have amazing ESL teachers, and they don't get any prep time. So it's a situation that's been going on for years. I think it's tantamount to wage theft because it's essential work that they have to do for their jobs. They can't really do their jobs unless they do the prep time. It's incredibly awkward if they do it during class time. So but that's the only time they're paid for is class time. So thank you very much for hearing my message. Have a good evening.
Oh, it's like what my radio was doing the other day in my car. Good old tech. Will Fetterman, science teacher, 22 years, Watsonville High School. And I've showed up before, but it's really hard to leave my daughter who kept saying, I want to read more, I want to read more, I want to get more tickets for reading. So thank you, board members, for your time. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. It's hard to be here on late meetings. We all have a common goal of doing the best thing possible and finding the right solution. Right? So I hope we can just keep that in mind. It's not going to be perfect, but we have to think outside the box with what we have and whatnot. So I'm a proud parent with 3 students at PVUSD. I'm teaching 120% this year because of a teacher on maternity leave. And through deaths at Watsonville High School, through maternity leaves at Watsonville High School, and long-term subs, I just couldn't see some of my former students, of which there's 16 in my first period class, have long-term subs, and then have that ripple down through the school. My own daughter at Aptos High doesn't have a Spanish teacher. She comes home every night and asks me and talks to me about how frustrated she is and asks me as a teacher in the district, how can this happen? Why does this happen? What's going on? I don't have an answer for her. I really don't, except for saying, hey, I understand your frustration and show the empathy that we all know how to do. We need to have funding that works. And if we think outside the box and do our best, can we talk to Robert Rivas? Can we talk to John Laird? Can we take this to the state level and talk about the fact we're going to continue to be here acting like we're arguing, talking about the same thing over and over? We need to have veteran teachers in order to help the social emotional learning, the instructional strategy training, the curriculum development, the list goes on and on and on to build connections with our kids. Otherwise, it's the same old, same old, same old, and we're going to be really letting our students down. And that's not fair just because of the tech boom over the hill. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight and telling us your truth. I don't think so.
I put in a card.
You ha-
He did it after it.
Just the
Okay.
process, right? Put in a card, get to speak.
No, you have to put it in before the item is called.
So you rush to the agenda so people don't get their cards in on time. Okay. You gotta warn
So, I just want to say, I'm sorry. Okay, listen, we are board members. Yes, we are elected. No, this is not fun. Okay, we understand that. But your disrespect to us is very difficult right
Sat
now.
for an hour hoping to speak, and the ability not to speak is a little bit of a disrespect to me too. So the feeling's mutual.
Oh, Lord have mercy. You want me to let him speak? Really? He can just speak. It's fine. Come on up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've been coming to school board meetings since the year 2001, and this sign really represents how I feel. Long before I ever worked at this district, I was advocating for students as part of the Watsonville Brown Berets, a local community service organization that has been fighting for student justice for a long time. And unfortunately, same shit, different year is like the theme here. I looked at the budget surpluses every year for the past little bit of time, and it's frustrating to think that we ask for 15 and you respond with 8. It's just a disrespect and a slap in the face. And I think people here, clap if you agree with me, are sick of that. I mean no disrespect to you. I know this is public service. I know this is a thankless job. And I don't want to criticize any of the individuals here as much as ask that this system is broken. And I want to ask you to have the courage to take the steps necessary to fix a broken system. Y'all inherited problems that you did not create, but you are now responsible for fixing on the school board. And it's pretty insulting that there's 3 board members not here that can't take the time to come down when that's what they signed up for. That's what you asked to do. So thank you. I know. I'm looking for allies. I don't want to make enemies here. I don't want to disrespect anyone. But if you think that we're going to continue to stand here year after year and take the same shit in a different year, you're wrong. Please, you have the power to make negotiations correct. And this is costing people their lives. And I'll share you why I say that. Because a student came to me last year. Out of his 6 classes, he had 3 actual teachers. The rest were subs or long-term whatever, warehousing the kids in the cafeteria at PV High. He came to me suicidal, asking for help. And he was the only teacher, I was the only teacher that he felt like he could connect with. So this is not just about our salary or our living conditions. This is about students' lives. And when you don't provide them with role models and people who support them and care about them, you're putting their lives in jeopardy. So I ask you to please live up to your motto and lift up together. Because right now I see a question mark. Just like I said last year with PVUSD Cares, I see a question mark after that statement. And I want to see an exclamation point instead.
Thank you.
Stand up for us. We deserve it.
Okay, next up we have employee organization comments. Up first is PVFT, item 7.1. Thank you.
Good evening, board. First, thank you to all of our members and support people that came and are here. We know that you should be at home, just like our students, if they're still here. You should be at home, getting some rest. So, wow, there has been a lot of truth. That is their truth. It's their reality. It's not it's fact. I recently read a research paper that speaks to, it was a longitudinal research paper over teacher shortages or the lack of retention of teachers. There's many people with teaching credentials in our society. They just don't choose to work in education right now. And why? The question is, why are they leaving? Why aren't incentives to getting them to become credentialed, working to fill these positions? Why? What is it? Well, one of those pieces, of course, is salary. But the other one that was tied close to that is the workload. It's a devaluing of the employee. And guess what? You just heard a lot of it. You just heard over an hour's worth of people speaking about how they have worked in this district for a long time, and they have not been respected. They continue to not be respected. In fact, we have teachers who are being told they have to go to a coaching meeting or some kind of a professional development, even though they are themselves a seasoned teacher and have been using that particular program for years now, that they have to use their time, to take their time out of their classroom. That means that then you create an absence to go and receive this coaching or do this PD. So Casey Klappenbach, our position is no, they don't. You know, the board here approves all these consulting fees. Here we'll spend $24,000 here. We'll give them $100,000. Let's give that company over there maybe close to $19 million, and all for the sake of, you know, we're working with our students, but not really. You're taking time from the students, away from them. You're taking their teacher away from them. And these teachers who are being mandated that to schedule some kind of a coaching or going to a PD, they don't need to do it. We have contract language around that. So that's one area of where here in this district today, this is happening. Another thing that this district does is they spend money on like tattletale type programs. And here, complain about so-and-so, or if you want to complain about somebody, let us know. And so I'm spending my time representing members because an administrator didn't like somebody advocating for themselves, so I'll just go and complain, and then we'll tell that member, so we're getting complaints about you. And then we're told when we request proof, I want to know who is saying this. Oh, we can't give you that information. As a matter of fact, you can. So we have some serious bad habits that are being enabled and fostered amongst our administrative staff. And these are types of habits that push people out. We have wonderful teachers, wonderful specialists that are being pushed out of this district because they advocate for themselves, because they know how to do their job, and some administrator who doesn't even know maybe that whole department, but has this sense of, I get to tell you what to do, doesn't like what they're hearing of, no, actually that doesn't work for this group of students who I actually work with. And then they get pushed out. And then we wonder why we have vacancies in this district, but again, the avoidance strategy is, as stated before, we can blame it on the national shortage. That's not the case here. In this research paper, it's proven, I mean, you can have a district like ours, and if you respected its employees, if you gave them time, if you valued their time, that's valuing the students. If you don't value your employees, you don't give a crap about your students. That's basically what you're saying. So, anyways.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the chief negotiator for PVFT. I want everybody in here who's wearing a PVF shirt right now to show us the front and the back of your shirt. Because this is not a gimmick. This is not a PR statement. This is not something that we all made up. If you cannot put your educators first, you're going to put your students last. If you cannot support your teachers, you're not supporting your students. And we don't say this because it's a phrase that sounds good. We say this because when we win, every student in your district wins. Yeah. When you support the staff, the students win. So thank you all.
And then just a really quick, I want to comment on the fact that is this aired in Spanish on YouTube? Because way back when, I feel like this year the district stopped translating these board meetings to Spanish, and that blocks out a very large portion of this community, and that is concerning.
Thank you. Okay, so next item, 7.2, do we have a representative from CSEA? Okay. What about item 7.3, PAVAM?
Okay. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Jen Bruno, Director of Expanded Learning, and I have the pleasure of presenting on behalf of Pajaro Valley Associations of Managers. I'm thrilled to share some highlights of our new ELOP programming this fall. So what you're going to see over here is one of our newest programs, brand new to our school district, our Pajaro Passport program. So this fall, we were able to offer, this Saturday will be our 4th Pajaro Passport Day. During these days, we offer 2 different day camps from the city of Watsonville and the YMCA. This Saturday, the city of Watsonville will have holiday blow-up, sledding, and lots of fun activities for our students. We also have had the pleasure of having our passport events for family members. So you'll get to see a couple of our events over there. On the very bottom of the screen, you'll see our students who participated with their families at our Saturday event at the San Jose Sharks. And so at the end of the event, not all the families could stay because it was a very late night for a lot of families. Our students got to go down to center ice and take a picture all together. So it was a really special thing. So that was happening in San Jose in November. And then in Santa Cruz that same night, we had an additional 250 participants at the Santa Cruz Warriors game. So let's look at the numbers just a little bit. In September, we were able to engage 350 participants between the day camps and our Pajaro Passport events at Roaring Camp and the Boardwalk. In October, we went over 800 participants at Gilroy Gardens and our day camps. November, we were at 600 with the San Jose Sharks and the Santa Cruz Warriors. And this Saturday, I'm so excited. We have over 1,000 participants joining all our family members at the Monterey Bay Aquarium for a private evening together as a PVOSD community. So I'm super excited for this, and it's really, really going to be a great time. Our other new programs through this programming of the ELOP that we're offering this winter is that we are now offering for the first time 3 different opportunities of camps. So we have City of Watsonville, YMCA, and CKC. So our TK through 8th grade students have the opportunity to attend these camps at no cost. We currently have over 200 students signed up for these camps. In addition, we were doing our reading program, and students will get 5 books. Lastly, we have a huge credit recovery that we're getting ready to kick off right now, and we're super excited. We believe this will be our largest winter credit recovery opportunity that we're able to present, and we have multiple different ways and formats that we're going to offer credit recovery to students, and offering in partnership with Digital Nest tutoring from our own teachers at the Nest during the break. So I'm really excited to share these events that we had going on this fall and winter with you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody here tonight from CWA? Okay, I apologize for being away from my seat. I just needed to take a little breather there for a minute. Okay, we're moving on to action items, and item 8.1 will be first on our action item agenda. This is a report by Clint Rucker on our 2022-2023 first interim report. And hopefully you'll have some good news for us, Clint.
Good evening, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. So as noted by President DeSerpa, this is our 22-23 first interim. Before I start on it, I do want to just say a huge shout out and thank you to Colleen Bouguillon, who is our Director of Fiscal, who spends a lot of time preparing this and puts a lot of work into it with her staff. She's also retiring from the district, so this will hopefully, if all things go well for her, be her last first interim. So just wanted to say thank you to her because she's done an awesome job, and it's been more than a pleasure to work with her. So won't get too emotional about it, but she's been amazing. So just to talk about real quick, what is our first interim? So what first interim does is it looks at our actuals from July 1st to October 31st. So it's not a new budget, but what we're doing is we're looking at what we've spent from July 1 to October 31st, anything that was added, anything that may have adjusted the budget, and really taking a look at what does the budget look like now. Secondly, it takes into account assumptions from November 1st through June 30th. So are there things we know that are coming? Do we have any increased costs that we're aware of? Are revenues looking different? All of that comes into play as well. And then it's an update basically on the budget that was approved in June by the board. So what is it not? So the first interim budget is not a brand new budget. I'm not here asking you that you approve a brand new budget with all brand new expenditures. It's really, again, an update on our already approved budget that we did a presentation on in June. It's not an update to our priorities. We're not saying now we're going to change priorities, here's where we're going to shift. That's not what really first interim or second interim are meant for. They're really updates on a budget that's already been approved. It's not an update on a future economic situation, meaning we're not looking at what we've heard in the news of what may happen in January in the budget or what may happen with the governor, the what ifs we hear. We always wait until, as the board knows, our January updates or our May revisions to be able to actually make changes to the budget. And then lastly, it's not a roadmap for us to identify future reductions. So we're not here to say, look at what could happen. We need the board to take some action to make reductions or make increases. That's not what we're here for tonight. So each year we face some challenges building the budget. And I always like to kind of just highlight what challenges we faced, keep the board abreast of what is coming and what may impact the budget at second interim or even when we get into June. So one of the ones, as Jen was just up here and amazingly offers so many great programs. However, in doing that, she's received a lot of new money for ELOP. However, that Expanded Learning Opportunities program is almost $16 million in increased revenue for the district, all on the restricted side. So again, it's not unrestricted funds that we can spend on whatever we choose. It's only earmarked for before and after school. So it makes it very difficult when the governor assigns so much money and then puts so many heavy restrictions on it. Declining enrollment, as you all know, and I probably sound like a broken record as I talk about it each time, declining enrollment continues to impact us as it does impact the entire state. And I'll get into that in a little bit. We did see the ADA average where they allow us now to take our average daily attendance and take 3 years and average that out to get our actual funding for the current year. So that definitely helped us. What we like to say is it really took us from a cliff where we were going to fall off after a couple years of hold harmless to more of a slight hill that we're going to keep going down. So we're still seeing losses in revenue due to declining enrollment, as is, as I noted, the entire state. One-time restricted funding. So again, the governor, with a lot of the one-time money that the state saw increases to arts, music, discretionary block grant. They also did a learning recovery emergency block grant. A lot of one-time money, again, with very heavy restrictions. So it's money that we're not allowed to use to necessarily supplement our general fund to lower costs there. Really, there's a lot of restrictions that they're putting on these one-time monies. And it doesn't help us when we're seeing, as you've heard, increases in inflation, increases in cost, and the governor responds with a lot of one-time money that they also put restrictions on. Part of LCAP was designed to give us local control, and it feels like when they do things like this, as much as some of the ideas of it sound great, doesn't give the district or the board as much control to decide what to do with those dollars. So unfortunately, with those dollars come plans we have to create or come restrictions on how we can spend that money. We have the estimated COLA that I'm sure most of you have heard of. LAO now is projecting over an 8% COLA. Part of the problem that I definitely see, other CBOs as I work with them see, The state's facing a $25 billion shortfall. For education, it's about a $2 billion shortfall. Doing quick math, taking into account there's about 5.8 million students in California, it's a loss of almost $440 a student. For us, that's almost $6 to $7 million we would lose if they don't cover that shortfall. So it's really tough when you have the LAO saying a statutory COLA will be at 8%, but we don't know what the funded COLA will be because we don't know if the state's going to find a way to fund that COLA. Again, for those of you who remember, COLA is two different things. There's the statutory COLA, which is actually derived from a national calculation. Then there's what the state can actually fund. So we do worry about that in the upcoming years of looking at, there's an 8% COLA. Will the state actually be able to continue to fund that ongoing? And lastly, our increases that we see to health and welfare and PERS and STRS. We continue to see those go up. PERS and STRS actually both went up. STRS actually went up very significantly this year, which normally it doesn't. Went up about 2%, which is pretty high for STRS. So what increases did we see? So our step-in column, as you know, each year, whether we negotiate a raise or not, we do have increased costs in step-in column. So that's just the movement on the salary schedule for both our certificated, our classified, and our management. Ends up costing us about $1.6 million. It's about a 1% for all units combined. STRS and PERS both increased by about $740,000 for STRS and $330,000 for PERS. Health and welfare went up $2.5 million. It went up just under 5% for us this year. So that 5% again is just covered by our COLA and any increase that we see in revenue, as that amount is completely handled by the district. So all in all, you see an increase of $5 million. So while it seems like we haven't spent any additional funding this year, we actually do see a $5 million increase. Now again, that's just increases. That's not taking into account what we lose in declining enrollment. So speaking of declining enrollment, you can see that in 21-22, we're at about 16,600 students. This year, currently, as of our P1, we're at 15,842 students. So we actually projected a loss of about 300 to 350 students as our as we do our demographics each year and have them evaluate where they think we'll lose students. They actually estimated about 300 each year. This year, we actually jumped and lost, as you can see, about 800 students. So quite a bigger loss than we actually anticipated. 23-24 and 24-25, we continue to decline. Again, want to note this is not PVUSD only. All of the districts in this county are facing it, and really across the state, we're seeing declining enrollment. So, statewide. So, in a normal year, the state loses about 20 to 30,000 students. That's what we've seen from about 2010 all the way through 2020, was an average of 20 to 30,000 students. When the pandemic hit, we saw a much larger increase. So you can see we actually saw $160,000 student decrease between 1920 and 2021. Now from 2021 to 21-22, you're seeing an additional 110,000 students. So you're still seeing a much larger decrease, 5 times larger than normal decrease across the state. So it's not just Pajaro Valley that's having this problem, not just Santa Cruz County. We're actually seeing it statewide. Very few districts are actually seeing an increase in enrollment right now. Okay, so looking at our multi-year, you can see our beginning balance, our revenues for 22-23. One thing I want to point out on the revenues, you might look at the revenues for 23-24 and 24-25. You'll notice those are very similar. There is actually a 4% COLA accounted for in those revenues. The problem is we're seeing that declining enrollment. And what happens is, based on that average, when we saw that really big dip in 22-23 right now, that's actually going to impact us very heavily in 24-25, especially in 25-26. So while we're getting a COLA, you'll see we're actually not going to realize that much actual additional revenue in those out years. For our expenditures, we're at about $198 million overall, and this is, again, just general unrestricted. You see our contributions. Our contributions, our biggest contribution, as you're all probably aware, $37 million is special education. So that's because, again, special education statewide is underfunded, and we end up contributing the most to special education. One thing this contribution doesn't take into account, which I think gets lost at times, contributions, just to clarify, are between one resource, our unrestricted resource, to our restricted. So going from our unrestricted funding to special education, specifically for the $37 million. One that doesn't show in here because it's all within our general fund unrestricted is transportation. So you may have heard that we received additional transportation monies and now transportation is being funded. Transportation is not being fully funded. Transportation is being funded at about up to 60% now. We still contribute about $5.5 million to transportation, as our overall transportation costs are over $11 million. So that's not in this contributions. You won't see it in there because we're not actually transferring it out. It's just what we're spending general fund on to continue running transportation for our students. So one point I want to make is that net increase of $5.3 million, where you're going to see a decrease in 22-23. I am in no way saying we're deficit spending and it's a danger in 22-23 by any means. That deficit spending is completely planned. Part of that comes from CSEA. As you all know, we have a TA with CSEA that includes one-time money for this year, as well as an increase for last year that's retroactive to all of last year. So that amount actually should have hit in 21-22. So there's about $4 million that really should have hit in 21-22, but again, we were still working with CSEA. We're negotiating with them right now. So we'll actually see that impact in this year, not in the year where it really should have hit, which is last year. But again, I don't want to point that $5 million decrease should that all be alarming. We understand we have a fund balance that can cover it, so we are looking at using one-time funds to do one-time payments of the like. We do still have the additional 3% reserve that was committed by the board, and then we are meeting our required reserve in all 3 years. So we do have a positive status for first interim. One thing I do like to point out is general fund unrestricted. So again, just to remind the board, general fund unrestricted are really our dollars that we can spend where we want to spend those dollars. There's no restrictions from the state on how we have to spend any of those dollars, other than, of course, following Ed Code. Of that $198 million in total expenditures for general fund, we spend $86 million on certificated salaries, $31 million on classified salaries, and about $65.6 million on employee benefits. So again, that's not just health and welfare. Employee benefits is also PERS, STRS, and then any of the statutories, which would include Social Security, Medicare. Of that total $198 million, we actually spend $183 million in total on salary and benefits, or 92.5% of our general fund unrestricted dollars. So again, when we talk about trying to put the money where it most matters, which is with our employees, with the money we have the most control over and the money that we can actually spend where we want to spend it, we do spend 92% of it on our staff. So for our budget certifications, we have 3 different types: positive, qualified, and negative. As I noted before, we are looking at a positive status, which is great news. Qualified would mean that we may not be able to meet our obligations in either the following or the year after that. Negative would mean we absolutely cannot meet our obligations. So we're not actually facing either of those. So we're actually facing a positive status, which is great. Okay. Then next steps. So as I noted, the next big thing we wait for is the governor's budget in January. So once the governor releases that, usually around January 15th, we get an idea of what the outlook looks like, how they'll probably address this $25 billion shortfall in the budget in general, how they'll address the $2 billion shortfall in specifically K-12 education. Following that, you'll see second interim budget in March. Governor's May revised comes out in May. Excuse me. So that's always where, after we see January, that's the first kind of start of the budget process. He then meets with his staff after the Department of Finance creates that budget. They review it. They start to talk about where they want to make changes. They, of course, get updated revenues to make adjustments to that budget. Then what you'll have is the June budget adoption public hearing from us, and then the June budget adoption, which will be at the end of June. And that is all I have for first interim.
Do we have any speakers to this item?
Mm-hmm. We do. Let's see how many. Some of these were 6.1-8.1, so I'm not sure if they're here, but I'll call them out either way. So we have Cindy Enginger. We have Pam Sexton. We have Adriana Ibarra. Chris Webb.
Good evening. I wanted to raise some concerns I have related to some of our budgeting. One thing I've noticed is sometimes we have money going to materials and supplies increases will go in there. And the reason this stuck out to me is there was a day this year when I arrived to school, and then suddenly my Chromebooks weren't working, and then they came to be remotely disabled. And so just as an instructional matter, that was difficult. But then the thing that was hard for me budget-wise was that I didn't really feel like I needed a new Chromebook. And then the replacement that I initially got didn't work with my TV. So I'm kind of thinking that like sometimes maybe we're making some allocations. And I think if we're going to do something like that, we should make sure that whatever technologies or whatever thing we're using is going to work with our existing infrastructure. Similarly, I think when some of the work that was done on our field occurred, there was some damage to our softball backstop, and it was replaced, which I get, but I don't even know if we're going to have softball, and I don't even know if our field is usable. So kind of I'm questioning some of that budget allocations. Also, as another matter, I appreciate that my new principal has been transparent with the site budget, but since my last principal wasn't, I would maintain my request that there just be an administrative regulation on this to require that kind of transparency that we're getting now. And lastly, I'm wondering if we know how much the district is saving from people like me who don't opt for the most premium healthcare plan, because I know there's some savings from that. So thank you.
And our last speaker to this item, Roddy.
Good afternoon, President DeSerpa, Dr. Rodriguez, Board of Trustees. Where do I start? For those of you who have been on the board for quite some time, President DeSerpa and Maria Roscoe, you have seen these first interim reports over and over and over and over again. And you're probably thinking, at least I hope you're thinking what I'm thinking, wow, this is the same story we hear every single year. Last year at first interim, we were projecting a 5.3 deficit in our budget, and then we ended the year with a 20 million surplus. We ended the year with an ending fund balance of $59 million. So Clint has talked about restricted funding and how ELOP, there's 16 million, and let me take that 16 million out of that 59 million for you. That's still an incredible amount in an ending fund balance that could be used on the things that every single person who took time out of their lives came to talk to you about today. For as long as I have been attending board meetings, it has been the same exact story. We're in a deficit, there's a recession coming, there is no funding, and yet every year at the end of the year, we put money in the ending fund balance. How does that happen? And then throughout the year, we say we're deficit spending. We're spending money out of money that we have saved from previous years. I don't consider that deficit spending in any way. I know that we are negotiating for total compensation. We are negotiating for salary, and you heard a lot of people speak about salary tonight and how that is imperative that they get a salary increase to stay in this district. But it's not just salary. Things like prep time and workload, they also cost money, and they are just as important as keeping people here. That's my number one priority as the chief negotiator, is retaining the amazing educators we have. And I lose sleep over that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the board members that are here? Danny.
I've mentioned previous times before, we talk about declining enrollment. And when I visit my sites, meaning my 8 Hall, Radcliffe, they say they don't see it. Do we know specifically where? I know, I've been to Meeting White, they might notice it in the kindergarten and the first grade, I believe. In EA Hall, maybe the 6th grade, I know Watsonville High is full. I know there's a waiting list to get in there. So where specifically, or what region of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District are we seeing the declining enrollment?
Yeah, sure. So it depends on the year. So what we end up seeing, so like right now, as to your point with Minty White, we're seeing a decline in K1 and K2, like pretty much kinder through 2nd grade. What's going to happen is in 3 or 4 years, when those kinders through 2nd graders are starting to move up to 5th grade, 6th grade, as they move to EA Hall or they move to Cesar Chavez is now going to see a decreased 6th grade class. So the bubble, we have what we effectively call a bubble. You typically have, if you have a lower 6th grade class right now, what's going to happen is your higher 7th grade class is going to move up to 8th grade, but that 6th grade class isn't, or 7th grade class isn't going to be replaced with the same number of students. So it depends on the year where it begins. I'm more than happy to provide Dr. Rodriguez with a B2B to kind of show you where the bubble is at the moment. We've had it, but again, we always see it mostly, where a site will mostly see it is when that bubble is at the very last grade in that site. So when Minty White has that bubble at 5th grade, that's when EA Hall is really going to see it. And then Watsonville High is really going to see it when those 6th graders get up to 9th grade and they get a smaller 9th grade class. So right now, to your point, yeah, it's in the K through 3 that we're seeing some decline. In the high school, we're seeing it in the senior level at 11th and 12th grades at your junior and senior level. But I can absolutely provide it. We have, again, as I noted, we work with a demographer to kind of look at what the trends are. We're basically taking what we have this year, how many students will most likely move up, and then showing, we always have a few drop off here and there, but we have that, actually absolutely have that data, and I'm more than happy to share it with Dr. Rodriguez.
I mean, if the board can get in the public, that way we could see what's going on and where, and instead of just declining enrollment, well, okay, well, where?
Absolutely.
So that way I could go back and tell people this is what we're seeing at, or, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Clint, I know that, a lot of the reason why we have the balance that we do right now is because of the one-time funding and stuff we got from COVID relief.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, as we've, had board meetings, just for the benefit of the public who may not want to, although you've been very, and Dr. Rodriguez, you as well, have been very transparent about our plans. Could you briefly explain, how we're planning on using some of that funding over
Absolutely. So as the board knows, near the start of the pandemic, we actually hired quite a few more mental health supports for our students in the form of social emotional counselors and mental health clinicians. We did that knowing that our students needed those supports, using the one-time funding at the time, which would have been the COVID relief funds or our ESSER funding, which our ESSER is our Emergency Secondary and Elementary Schools Relief Fund. That is one-time funding. So as we use those to hire ongoing positions, we find that we are going to get to a point where either we're not going to have the money to fund those positions or we need to find a way to fund them. So as we see new one-time funding come in, what we're looking at is, can we utilize some of that to continue those programs that we've built, because we know it's important to our students and to our staff to have those supports. So mental health clinicians and social emotional counselors are one. Our intervention teachers are another spot where we're doing it. Our instructional aides is another spot. So with the learning loss recovery money, which actually does state it needs to be used to continue staffing or provide additional staffing, we are utilizing that to continue those mental health supports, social emotional counselors, instructional aides, reading intervention teachers. So again, that's that tough piece of the governor provides us with additional restricted funding that we're effectively using the way we would want to use unrestricted funding, and we're trying to do that the best we can.
Thank you.
And sorry, just to add to, we also had a lot of facilities needs that, of course, the board delivered some ESSER funding for, which was greatly needed, and I know our facilities department has really appreciated that.
Maria?
So can you just elaborate on that point a little bit more? So out of our remaining balance, what has the board, and that's just for the public, has already allocated? towards our instructional assistants, towards our mental health clinicians, and so forth.
So in the ending fund balance?
Yes.
There isn't any in the ending fund balance allocated for that. That would be allocated for our, that would be in our revenues for the new, the new one-time funding, which would be the learning loss recovery, as well as the arts and music instructional discretionary block grant. Those ones actually do have expenditures that are put in along with their revenue. So they're actually an offset of revenue and expense.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But just one point to elaborate. So what you remember that we said, and we had a plan that was approved by the board for this, but what we've done is we've extended that one-time monies to 2027, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of one thing that was said when we first put in the brand new instructional assistants, the intervention teachers, and the mental health clinicians and social emotional counselors, is the board said, how can we sustain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we not just have this be for a year or two, but how do we sustain it over a long period of time? So there is ESSER 1, 2, and 3. They all have different timelines in which we must spend. Well, that money, we are using that money over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're using that to be able to say, okay, we're going to be using that money and to extend all these supports so that we don't have to take these supports away. We're going to extend it into 2027. That does also include important partners like our EOP, so our partnership with UCSC, so that's in there. That also is our extension of PVPSA. So you'll remember that we augmented significantly PVPSA, including the augmentation for students who didn't have Medi-Cal. So that was something that we started several years ago, which is an expense, but it's necessary because what we found is our families can't always get mental health supports through other means. And so we needed to find a way in order to be able to do that within the school district. So all of those, both the staff, but also these other programs that everyone remember when we thought that we might need to cut 10% way back right before the pandemic, we considered taking EOP out because it is a significant contract. And what did our families and our students say, right? They said that it was a significant support to them, and we selected to keep it, to reinstate it. But then also, because of what we heard from our students in our community, we said, okay, we're going to use this additional one-time funding over the time and stretch it out as far as we can. And I'll stop there.
So can you go back to a slide that would show where that money is? Is that just in the ending fund balance, or is it in a restricted fund?
Which dollars? The one for
The ones we're talking about using over the time to 2027.
So that would be in restricted. So it wouldn't be in our unrestricted. That'd be in our restricted funding. And again, if it's depending on which type of funding, so if we're talking about ending fund balance, or if we're talking about funding that we only receive as we spend it, that's where it's accounted for. Because we don't have the exact dollar amount on all of the instructional, the learning loss, we only budgeted in restricted what we feel we would actually spend this year. So we don't actually budget all of it in restricted because we know we won't receive
Is it included in the ending fund balance?
It's not if it's earned revenue. So unearned revenue. So what that means is you get it when you spend it. So we have X amount of years to spend it, but we only see it if we actually spend it. So
given that we know these are such critically important positions, why not just fold those positions into our regular budget?
So we absolutely could. The problem we would face is that would then take away from the dollars we have to give raises or do one-time payments to our staff. So again, staffing is a cost. The social emotional counselors and the mental health clinicians alone are probably around $1.2, $1.3 million. So we could absolutely put them in general fund. It would eat up $1.3 million of
every year.
Yep, every year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Another question I have is, we have a bunch of new housing that's going in Watsonville. Have we forecast like how many families are going in there and what that might look like?
Yeah, so our demographer definitely does that as they take into account new housing and look at new housing and developments. They look at how many are single family homes, and they do take into account based on statewide averages what that will look like us for enrollment. So they absolutely take that into account during their report, and we have a full report on it. And that's how we actually build out our staffing for the future years, by looking at what are the estimates for enrollment in the out years.
Do they take into account the fact that some families who may be living under one household, maybe moving to that location, not necessarily in families?
So it's tough. They use census data, as do most who are looking at demographics. It is always tough to determine, are you going to have a family of 3 students move in, or a family of 1, or a family of none? So again, they typically take the average for the area and what historically we've seen and what we're seeing across the state.
So what is our ending fund balance? And Clint, I want you to talk slowly.
Of course.
Because you're so smart. You talk so fast, but I'm having trouble following.
No,
So
of
if I
course.
am, people with less experience probably are having trouble.
So for unrestricted, our ending fund balance is $37 million. It's that first column, 22, 23. So again, that's our unrestricted. So that is the money that we do not have restrictions on how we spend it.
Explain the reserve, though, required within.
Correct. So of that $37 million, $11.2 million is required as a 3% reserve. So that's unspendable. We can't actually spend that $11 million. Otherwise, we would then be in qualified or negative status, depending on how many years. We can't meet that reserve. So to Dr. Rodriguez's point, while there's a $37 million ending fund balance, only 26.2 would actually be spendable. Then when you take out the additional 3% reserve that's committed, it's down to about 19 million. And then we, of course, have a few other unspendables in there. It's very small amounts. It's typically our stores, which is unspendable, which is our supplies that live in our warehouse.
And the reason that we see this ending fund balance going up, it looks like for the next 3 years, is because we haven't really factored in negotiations.
That is correct. So
Okay.
for 23, 24, and 24, 25, we are seeing a COLA, but at this time, we don't have factored in increases in 23, 24, or 24, 25. So these numbers are assuming that we receive a 5% COLA and a 4% COLA, but there isn't ongoing dollars on the salary schedule.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
No, I just think that as soon as we close negotiations, those numbers are going to drop.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Great. Go forth and negotiate.
Absolutely.
Yes. Jen, did you have something?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone abstaining or opposed? Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8.2, Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant. It's a presentation by our Assistant Superintendent, I think, Lisa Giria, and Clint Rucker.
Always here to support.
Okay.
Good evening, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. This evening, I am presenting to you the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant. Assembly Bill 181 and 185 allocates monies for school districts to obtain standards-aligned professional development, instructional materials, to develop diverse and culturally relevant book collections, operational costs, and also COVID personal protection equipment. PVUSD received approximately $9,760,000 that these funds are available for encumbrance through 2025 through 2026. The expenditure plan template has the planned use of the funds over the years. We are planning for future textbook adoptions, instrument purchases and repairs, developing the marching band, which has been in our LCAP plan, and so we'll use some of the monies for that. The individual purchase orders for teachers to use for materials in their classroom. Library collection update so that our libraries, the textbook collection can increase to more current years. Expand the Save the Music program so that it encompasses all of our elementary schools. And then the Youth Cinema project continuation. And those are the planned expenditures through 25-26. With that, we are asking the board for approval of the expenditure plan. Thank you.
Do we have any speakers?
No.
This exciting presentation. This is super exciting.
No speakers.
Any questions or comments from the board? Jen?
Just when I was at the Aptos High community meeting, one of the things we talked about was like marching bands. And so when I was, reading the board packet, over the weekend, and it's like I saw how, marching bands were kind of a focal point. Just, parents and staff alike at that meeting really expressed how, marching bands were just they're a real focal point for expressing school spirit, but also community. And that's so desperately needed right now, both for students, for the community, et cetera. So I'm really pleased to see funding for bands included. And it just made me really happy. I needed to say
It's going to be great to see some of our schools compete at the large competitions that happen.
Yeah.
How about on this side, Danny?
Just going along with Trustee Holmes said, I remember when I was at Mini White, EA Hall used to have a marching band, and so I'd like to see if we could get the marching band back in EA Hall. That was a little bit before my time, but I was there and I remember seeing it. And even when I talked to people that are a little bit older than me that went to EA Hall, they remember the marching band, and I would like to advocate for a marching band at EA Hall. Thank you.
I think the only thing I would add to that is I think our board trustee years back was actually the person that really advocated to bring band back, the marching band. So I just want to credit her for reminding us of how important of a resource that is to students. So it's nice that we are moving forward with that again and approving funding to support that effort.
And I'll just say that this is a long time coming, and we knew that having no music for many years, that it would take a while for our bands to improve to the point that they could be a marching band. So with the help of Sue and John Gralty, we thank them very much for putting this plan into sort of actual action. So anyway, thanks for bringing this forward.
Thank you.
I move to approve.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 403. Thank you. Super exciting. Next up is item 8.4, approve a variable term waiver for certificated employee. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss it? Yeah. Sorry, 8.3, approve a memorandum of understanding with the CSEA Chapter 132 and PVUSD for the Summer Assistance Program.
Thank you. Good evening, President DeSerpa, board members, and Dr. Rodriguez. The following item is an MOU with CSEA regarding the Summer Assistance Program. When school is out for summer recess, a number of classified employees do not work during that time. For the 23-24, the state budget in 23-24 package provides a $60 million in funding for the Classified School Employee Summer Assistance Program statewide. The California Department of Education will apportion funds to participating local educational agencies to provide up to a dollar-for-dollar match on amounts that employees choose to withhold from their checks during the 23-24 school year. An MOU is signed with CSEA to participate in the Summer Assistance Program for next school year. Our classified employees are eligible if they work for less than 12 months per fiscal year, if they've worked for us for at least 1 year, and their annual salary does not exceed $62,400. This will be our district's 4th year participating in the program. So this evening I ask the board to approve the MOU as presented.
Any speakers?
No.
Any comments from the board or concerns?
I
Questions?
think it's always been a beneficial program for our
It-
classified employees. So I'm in full support.
Is that a motion?
It is. I make a motion.
I'll second.
A first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have 8.4, approve a variable term waiver for a certificated employee. And this item, I think, will be Hi, presented by Brian Saxton.
Good evening, President DeSerpa, Dr. Rodriguez, Board of Trustees. I'm here to present to you tonight a request for a variable term waiver for Angie Moran to fill the position of a release teacher for art for Valencia Elementary. Angie has been subbing in the class and is recently enrolled in a credential program, but won't be eligible for an intern until later in the school year. So this waiver will allow us to keep her in the spot until the intern credential becomes fully approved. So we would request your approval for this waiver.
Are there any speakers? None. Any comments, questions from the board?
I'll move to approve.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Motion
very
carries.
much.
Thank you. Item 8.5, revised classified salary schedule to comply with minimum wage law. By Pam Shanks.
Thank you again. Good evening, President DeSerpa, board members, and Dr. Rodriguez. There is an increase to minimum wage from $15 an hour to $15.50 an hour that's going to become effective January 1st, 23. On the attached CSEA salary schedule, the ranges and steps highlighted are being increased to $15.50 to comply with the new law. Rate changes that occur through negotiations will be applied accordingly, so these rates are only being brought in the interim in order to comply with the new law. So this evening, I ask that the board approve the CSCA salary schedule as presented.
Are there any speakers?
None.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you. You have the next one too.
I do.
8.6, revised classified non-represented salary schedule to comply with the minimum wage law.
So yes, good evening again, President DeSerpa, board members, and Dr. Rodriguez. So this item is our classified salary schedule for our non-represented positions. So due to the increase in the minimum wage law happening January 1st to $15.50 per hour, the non-represented positions are being presented in order to comply with that new law. Additionally, our enrichment specialists are non-represented positions that work in our expanded learning program and have not had a change in their pay for several years. The hourly pay presented aligns with increases that that classified employees have received over the years. So this evening, I'm asking that the board approve the non-represented salary schedule as presented.
Any speakers?
No speakers.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item 8.7, fencing installation at Alianza and Watsonville Charter School of the Arts. This is presented by our Director of Facilities, Orlando Fernandez.
Good evening, President DeSerpa, Dr. Rodriguez, board members, cabinet. My name is Orlando Fernandez, and I'm here to ask the approval of this third round of fencing installation at Alianza Charter School of the Arts and Watsonville Charter School of the Arts. For Alianza Charter School of the Arts, we have about 100 linear feet of fencing and 1 foot gate that's going in over on the side of the creek, and that came in at proposal at $5,445. Over for Watsonville Charter School of the Arts, we have a proposal that came in for $39,490 for a combined total amount of $44,935. And I'm asking the approval to move forward with the contract for fanning fencing for these two fencing installation projects.
Okay, are there any speakers?
No speakers to this item.
Any comments or questions from the board?
I just have a clarifying question, and this may be for you or Dr. Rodriguez. So I know that with charter schools, they have their own LCAP. So is this going to be funded through our funds, or is there a contribution that will be coming from their own funds?
I can speak to it if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, this funding was allocated by the board from Measure L. That was part of our maintenance funding. The maintenance funding was for all schools, including our charter schools. So it's actually to maintain all of our schools. So they will be receiving a small piece, but they'll be receiving their portion of what
dependent charters.
our dependent charters, absolutely. So Lynn Scott and Saba, as well as Navigator, are not included in this.
Did that answer your question, Maria?
It did.
Okay, thanks. Looking for a motion to,
Move to approve.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 403.
Thank you.
The next one is item 8.8, approve Minty White mural. And this is a report by Casey Klappenbach, our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education.
Good evening, President De Serpa, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Casey Klappenbach, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education, and on behalf of the Great and Mighty Eagles of Minty White, I request your approval for the design and painting of a mural on a storage container near the playground of Minty White Elementary School. The design of the mural, as you can see, is their mascot, the Great and Mighty Eagle, and it has been designed by a Girl Scout for her Girl Scout Gold Award project, Caitlin Bayaka, and she has attended multiple PVUSD schools. And so the mural will also be created in conjunction with students and teachers' participation also. Minty White's VAPA teacher, Miss Cat, is the project advisor and will help incorporate and instruct the students on painting the sections of the mural also. And so the mural does have the support of not only the school site council, also student council, and the staff of Minty White. So on behalf, once again, of the Great and Mighty Eagles, I request for your approval.
Any speakers to this item?
None.
Any questions from the board? Trustee Dodge Jr.?
That mural will look good with the new garden that they have going on there, so I'd like to make a motion to support this agenda item. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Item 8.9, approve a Playworks expansion master contract. Report by Casey Klappenbach.
Good evening, President De Serpa, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rodriguez. Once again, I'm Casey Klappenbach, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary, and tonight I bring forth the Playworks report on Playworks and our expansion efforts. And tonight I will be also requesting a final expansion to our last 6 school sites. So as you can recall, in the past we did bring Playworks in as we were preparing to return back to school to make sure our students had the skills and the safety structures for that return to play. And it was also part of our restorative start, focusing on the SEL components of identity, belonging, and agency. And with the junior coaches, it does have student empowerment and leadership. The goals of Playworks are really for student empowerment and for adult empowerment. So they really want to empower our students to develop a positive and inclusive playing environment on the playground where they're able to solve their own conflicts, and also to help the adults that are out there with them play alongside them and help with that, that inclusive community. So moving along, as we began with 6 schools in our initial pilot, and so last year after we had that initial pilot, I came forth and provided some of the feedback from the sites, and we expanded to 6 additional school sites. And the pilot consisted of 3 modules: the Power of Play, Recess Implementation, and a Recess Reboot component, where the staff and coaches from Playworks actually came for 4 days to each of the sites and worked with them through all of their recesses and lunches and provided that support. The initial 2 modules really helped build capacity with the staff, with classified and certificated, to be able to do the work and create the systems and structures throughout the school sites. So these are our 6 remaining sites that we hope to expand with your approval tonight. It's Bradley, Freedom, McQuitty, Ohlone, Rio Del Mar, and Starlight. And then we will have had all 18 sites included, which is really exciting. And here are just a couple quotes, one from a student and one from a teacher from H.A. Hyde and Hall District. So the first one, Playworks has been great for our school. It helped build a sense of community across grade levels at our school. Thank you. And that was a teacher at H.A. Hyde. And the next one is a Hall District Hawk. I like that we do Rochambeau and let it go. This solves problems. So that's one of the conflict resolution tools that our students have been equipped with. And then moving on, as we're thinking about what makes a better recess, right? They have three main components. The first one is that conflict resolution, right? We want to build capacity with our students to be able to solve their disagreements on their own, right? And they can apply that in the classroom and later on in life also. And the second one are those leadership skills that it's developing with our students too, right? It's helping develop a sense of fairness, right? An ability to communicate with one another effectively, and builds their confidence too. And lastly, it does help with academic success. Students that are successful and engaged at recess, right? They're getting their energy out, their brains are moving in a different way and thinking. They come in and they're ready to, they're more prepared to think and to work hard academically too. And then these are the seven main components that is part of Playworks program. The structured play and those routines. And those routines are school-wide. They develop them school-wide. But more importantly, we're involving a lot of our classified staff that have maybe not been equipped to deal with some of the problems on the playground, like our yard duty and our IAs or anyone else that might be working with students. Also. And so they've felt really valued and invested as part of the team too. It's part of bringing that inclusive culture with adults also forward. And then that the SEL piece of it, you saw it with the quote up there from the students, and then that junior coaching. So the upper grade students get trained and developed as leaders, so they get to help coach the younger students during their playtime. And you can see the junior coaches at a couple of our different sites that are working with one another in the captions right there. And so this is our roadmap that I showed you before. As you can see, it's really developing capacity at the site to be able to get trained. They have leaders come back and train staff members and implement them back at the school site. And then lastly, they have that recess reboot where the coaches come in after they've already been setting up those systems and really accelerate and amplify those best practices across the systems. And so here are some of our staff survey results just from some of the sites that had the last expansion, right? So as you can see, 3 of those main questions that were asked, we have 64% since Playworks, they agreed or strongly agreed that since Playworks, climate at recess has improved. We have 60% that agreed or strongly agreed that since Playworks, student discipline has decreased. And then we have 68% agreed or strongly agreed that more students are engaged or included in safe activities. And so now we have the students' voices here. And so you can see that our 3rd and 5th grade students that were surveyed, 52% of them said that Playworks has made our playground safer. 66% said that since Playworks started, there are more things to play at recess, right? They have those games. And then we have 55% stating that there are fewer conflicts now since they've had Playworks at their school. And you can see there's our dragonflies over at Landmark with, there's Mr. Torres, the principal, with a couple of his junior coaches that have been helping at recess. And then here are last 2 quotes. We have an H.A. Hyde student this time and a Hall District elementary teacher. There's a lot of games I've never heard of, and without Playworks, we would be playing the same games. And then from the teacher voice, students are excited to play most of the games and have strategies to help each other. And so I would like to thank the 6 schools that we had expanded to this last year and for their pictures and their surveys, and would like to request your approval for the last expansion to our 6 remaining sites.
Thank you. Are there any speakers?
No speakers to this item.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments from board members?
Just a comment that Rochambeau, it definitely works, even in my household. So Neil is part of one of those schools, my son, and so that's one of the strategies that I guess he learned there, and he uses it on his little brother when they're home, and trying to resolve a conflict. So I know it carries forward outside of just the school environment.
That's great.
I did have a question. Did we hear from, so in most schools, about 60 to 68% agree that there was improvement. What about the other 40%? What was their feedback like?
Great. So the choices that they have are either strongly disagreed, neutral or can't tell yet, and agreed or strongly agreed. So most of the time, the other choice that was seen most often would be neutral or you can't tell yet, because they're developing and building systems. So it's ongoing systems work. As we know with implementation, like SIPs, for example, right? It's years. Implementation science tells us we have to continue doing the work and supporting those systems.
So I'm assuming that we're going to keep surveying every year.
Hopefully that's built in. So the goal is for the sites to be able to do that and see that when they do their PBIS, their TFIs, their different surveys, so they can, because Landmark might need a different support than Radcliffe, right, which has been implementing, was one of the original sites, and they're going to have different needs based on the people on their team and what they do with them.
Okay. So it'll be interesting to see that data, years from now, that's specific to each school. So it'd be great to push for that, to have that data be incorporated and have it like an annual survey at the site level.
Great idea.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Jen?
Do you, so there was, I saw the slide where it was talking about just improvements in the classroom, or just, behaviors in the classroom. Do you collect any specific data about that yet?
So the main piece that we would be looking at would be referrals, like student office referrals, majors or minors. And since coming back from the pandemic, our system doesn't have as much accurate data comparing from the year before, because that's what you would normally be doing to be looking at those pieces.
Yeah. Right. Sorry, or did it? Right, okay.
And then it also does, if you're looking at it, is it saves instructional time too at the same time, because the teacher's not coming out to their line with, hopefully, with like 20 different discipline issues or conflicts that have happened. Hopefully they can take their class right in with less of those incidences also.
Okay, thank you.
And can you tell me what the price is of this program?
So different components cost different things. It is for all of those sites. It is a total of $90,000. The Recess Reboot is the most costly. That's because it's 4 days of them coming in and working with students and working with teams, and also helping work with the junior coaches also.
So it's 90 in addition, then more money for workshops, or
No,
that's the
it's total. It is
Okay.
the total for those 3 pieces.
Okay, for all the sites that you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
For
great.
all of them.
Great.
And inflation has hit with that one too, so it has gone up.
Okay, any other questions? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ben Slider, would you like to come to the podium? This is 8.10, approve the memorandum of understanding between the Arts Council Santa Cruz County and PVUSD for 2022-2023 Family Art Night classes at the Family Engagement and Wellness Center.
Good evening, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Rodriguez. My name is Ben Slider, Coordinator of Student Services, and tonight I bring you a proposed MOU for the Arts Council Santa Cruz County to partner with the PVUSD Family Engagement and Wellness Center to coordinate 3 monthly in-kind family art nights during the second half of the school year, February through May. During each family art night, an art council teaching artists will provide hands-on workshop in either visual arts, dance, music, or drama. Families will engage in the art together with their children and will experience firsthand the importance of arts in their child's education. Some of the benefits of doing art is art can help to build connections and bonds with others. It can help to decrease stress. So with that, it's therapeutic. And art also allows individuals to do self-expression, to be able to do self-expression. So this is a unique way for families to bond together and learn and explore the different kinds of art in our community. And tonight, I respectfully ask you to approve this agreement.
Do we have any speakers? I don't think we- Okay. Any questions? We need questions and comments from the board. Great. Daniel Dodge?
How are we going to get the word out about this to parents?
I'll use the same methods that I've been using already. We will engage not only with sharing this information to those that visit the Wellness Center to begin with, but we will also use different forms of communication. So I'll use Peach Jar. I'll also use Remind. In my experience, it feels like many families respond really well to Remind, which is the text messaging system. We'll make sure that we have enough time ahead of time to promote it. I have been revamping the Family Engagement Wellness Center website, and I've put a calendar on there. And so all the events that we are able to schedule throughout the whole entire school year, and during the summer times, we put those there as well. I can also share with school sites as well, and encourage the school sites to also share the information with families too.
Yeah, I mean, just again, just with the Radcliffe Mini White E Hall alone, just being right there.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I think that's would be very important. I think text message also too works. That way, parents, regardless whether they're working at home, get a message saying, you know, there's art for the kids. Can you please show up? So, thank you.
And I know that I will have to abstain from this vote because I serve on the Arts Council, but it's a wonderful program, and I know the Arts Council just opened up, you know, did their kind of their ribbon cutting ceremony, and they did a wonderful job in it. It's just, I love the partnership, and I'm in full support. Yeah, so that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this item.
I'll second. I wasn't here, but I read the material.
Okay, first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone abstaining? Jen Holm abstains, so the motion carries 3-0-1-3.
Thank you.
Passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank Sarah Brothers for us, because I see that they're funding a big piece of this, so thank her.
Thank you.
Mhm. Item 8.11, second reading of board policy and administrative regulation on education for homeless children, 6173.
Again, good evening, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. My name is Ben Sider, Coordinator of Student Services. And during our last board meeting on November 16th, we had our first reading for proposed changes to PVUSD Board Policy 6173 and the administrative regulations titled Education for Homeless Children. Today, I respectfully ask you to approve the updated board policy, the proposed updated board policy.
Did you want to call out the areas that have been updated?
Oh,
We read the backup, but for the public?
okay. Yes, I can definitely call out the areas. One of the big things that we want to add to it is have an annual outcome report to the school board. So that would include various data points: school attendance, test results, promotion, retention rates, graduation rates, discipline data, suspension, expulsion, so on and so forth, and other data-related LCAP measures. Other updates added to it is language related to district liaison assisting placement with students, very specific language to that. Included in that is also the coordinator of student services position, assuming the responsibility as district liaison for homeless students. Some of the additional responsibilities for the district liaison: provide support and represent homeless students who are undergoing disciplinary proceedings that could result in expulsion, participate in manifestation determination meetings regarding behavior of students who may have a disability, and assist homeless students in obtaining records necessary for their enrollment into or transfer out of district. So those would be like medical, immunization, academic. Also, be the advocate with working with sites and making sure that sites are aware that students with this status are able to enroll into schools and participate in extracurricular activity, regardless of outstanding fees, fines, textbooks, specific clothing normally required by school. It's to be able to support them through that. If a student is placed in a different school other than the school of origin or requested school, a designee or superintendent, the designee being the district liaison, would write a written explanation along with information on written explanation on why the placement was determined, if it was different than what they requested, and how they can appeal that in the appeal process that goes along with that. If a student's homeless status changes before the end of the school year, so they went into the school year with that status and now it changed, so they're no longer with that status, the student is allowed to stay in the school of origin. And that's through the duration of the school year if they are in a school that is kindergarten through 8th grade. But if they're at the high school, then they're allowed to stay until graduation. And again, as mentioned during the first read, much of the updates that were added to this are consistent with the McKinney-Vento Act that was reauthorized during the Every Student Succeeds Act. And is also consistent with recommended board policy language that is given to us by the state of California. There's tons, there's a lot that's updating.
And you know what? I'm super impressed with the knowledge base that you have on this topic. I'm going to cut you short, though, because I have to extend the meeting before 10:30.
Okay.
So does anyone have, now that you've heard what's changed, any questions, or are we good to vote? Oh, okay.
To point over, do we want to vote to extend the meeting real quick? So. Okay. Real quick, I have heard from conversations from various advocacy groups about moving away from the term homeless to using terms like houseless or unhoused.
Yeah.
And, or houseless. So my understanding is that we have to use the term homeless because of ed code, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, and just kind of to go along with that, I just had a conversation with people at the county level. I know that we are short on time here, but they have the same feeling as well as we do. And just so to make sure that we have our minds at ease, the day in, day out of working with students, we're certainly not using the term homeless students. So we're using other type of terminology to refer to when we're working with students that are undersheltered or unsheltered.
Thank you.
Daniel Dodge?
So just because the public is watching and listening, I know before the football season at Watsonville High School, there was a homeless student. Well, you know, he was going to school, he was playing football, but I know that he was homeless, and he wanted to stay, he still wanted to play football. In that situation, who is the first person that student should be going to? If he tells the vice principal, what does the vice principal do? Who do they call? Or where would that student go if he didn't feel comfortable enough to talk to an administrator?
Sure. One of the things that we do is we make sure that there's updated posters that are around each of the campuses. And what it is it kind of gives a list in an easy to read format, simplified format of the McKinney-Vento laws and what homeless students' rights are, what unsheltered students' rights are. So a student that has McKinney-Vento status, those should be all over the campus. So that's one way for us to be able to do that. The other thing that we do is we have Healthy Start registration technicians that are at each of our resource centers, including Watsonville High School. And so the Healthy Start registration technicians do what's called reconciliation. So they look at the list and they check it twice, and they check in with those students to see, and their families to see what their status is. So there's a number of different strategies that we do to be able to reach out. Mm-hmm. If a student is having a concern about not being able to participate, if there's a trusting adult at the school, which we hope so, that they would be able to check in with them and then get that information to administration.
So again, what would be a number or a person, or what department would they
So
go to?
they would ask to go to the Healthy Start Center.
Okay.
To talk to the Healthy Start Register.
Where is?
Which is, it's at their school.
It's at their school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right. Or you can go to a counselor.
Okay, just so everybody hears that. So thank you.
So Healthy Start. Just remember,
Yes.
think of homeless, Healthy Start. They're synonymous with each other. And yeah, we need it.
Okay, any other questions?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm
thank
looking
you.
for a motion to extend our meeting.
I'll move to extend our meeting to midnight.
Great.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Ben. Item 8.12, Food What? Partnership Program. Whoopsie, we're having a technical difficulty on the left side of the room.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
going to keep going. Good evening, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Jen Bruno, Director of Expanded Learning, and I'm thrilled to introduce you tonight to Nancy Zuniga, our site coordinator of high school.
Good evening.
Tonight, I bring forth our Food What expansion contract. Food What has been a long-standing partner. 15 years ago, they started their partnership with PVUSD and Extended Learning. And I'm so excited that tonight I bring forth a contract to bring that partnership back within our programming. So this is an expansion contract. Our current contract is ending this month. So we hope to continue come the new year and expand services to include Aptos High School as well, the students of Aptos High School. They typically run a cohort of 5 programs during the spring. 4 of those take place in Watsonville. And of those last spring, 2 of those were specifically just PVUSD high school students. This spring, if this contract is approved, 4 of those cohorts would be PVUSD students only. So this is a great opportunity for our students. We ask that you approve this contract to expand our partnership program.
Any speakers?
No speakers to this item.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board members?
I guess. Go ahead, John.
Just, I've been impressed by FoodWhat for since I've been a trustee, and what's been particularly moving is the student testimonials at various events that I've been to, and the difference that it's made in the lives of the participants, and I'm in full support.
Okay.
She stole, she stole the words I was going to say. Just the strong student testimonials. And when I mean student testimonials, it's, I mean, from preventing suicide to just mental health issues, just really strong, just dealing with different struggles and how this program has helped them make connections and just look towards a brighter future. So I'm full support of this partnership.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Daniel, did you have a comment about FoodWhat?
Yeah, I've known about FoodWhat the last few years, and just the self-esteem, the motivation that it gives students. Maybe they might not be doing well, but it gives them a reason why to go to school. And this is a great program, and I support it as well.
Great. Thank you.
Can you say exactly what's proposed for Aptos High?
Yeah. So what this proposal is to expand the program. So this is one, to continue services. As of right now, services would stop after this month. So this proposal actually continues services for spring, summer, and fall. It proposes to work with our high schools, Watsonville High, PV High, Aptos High, and New School and Renaissance High. And in addition to that, it states that 4 of the cohorts, sorry, I've had a hard time with that word, will take place in Watsonville with only PVUSD students during the spring. So there will be a spring cohort with 4 groups.
But Jen, what are they doing? What is the program?
Oh, sorry. This is their normal program where they are working with youth. Youth go to the farm. They do cooking classes. They eat together. So what it does is they do 3 activities every time that they meet together. So they work on the farm, they do cooking together, and then they eat together as a community. And then they also do, during the summer, one of the great things that they do for our district is that they come and they do blasts at our school gardens. So at the Life Lab Gardens, then those high school students come and do the blast. So what this proposal does is that it allows for them to work with our students, teaching them nutrition, self-esteem, leadership in our, at the farm, and then bringing them onto our sites during the summer to help with the blast of taking care of the gardens. They've also worked with Ben in the Wellness Center of hosting the farmer stands, and then it also pays for stipends for these students. So this pays for students to be able to get money for their work. And in the data that was attached to this, you'll notice that one of the questions that the students were asked was, does this money go to support your household or family, and 73% of those students stated that that money that they made went to support their family.
Yeah, okay. So the total cost is $375,456, and that comes out of ELOP monies?
Yes, so great question. That will come out of 3 funding sources: ELOP, and then ACES from PV High, and ACES from Watsonville High. So there is no touching any general fund. This will be totally out of the expanded learning funds.
That's great. Okay, we have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for that extra explanation.
Of course.
It's for the benefit of the public. Okay, 8.13, intercession credit recovery Apex purchase order.
I have so many papers, I apologize. Good evening, President DeSerpa, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rodriguez. We are thrilled, Nancy and I are thrilled to bring forth this invoice, this service agreement for purchase order for Apex for winter credit recovery. What this will allow us to do is to engage 500 students in credit recovery, virtual credit recovery, A through G requirements during the winter time. This would be our largest number of students that we would be able to work with within our winter session. This would be in addition to our own teachers working with another group of students with Edgenuity and our own PVUSD teachers teaching and offering tutoring at Digital Nest. So what this allows for is students to be able to sign up and learn from home and have an instructor that they would work with. This also pays for tutoring time where students can log on and have additional help and then be able to make up their credits. I'm really, really excited about what this could provide for all of our students, and this would be offered to all of our high school students, no matter what high school they go to.
That's great. Do we have any speakers?
No speakers to this item.
Okay, any questions? Danny?
I know at Watsonville High, there's some concern for students that might be 40, 50, 60 credits short. Does this help them?
So this will help students within a certain tiered measure. So if they were 25?
Yes, if they were deficient, 25 credits or less, and being a senior, and
So-
40 credits or less if they are a junior.
Jen, can I just interrupt you again? We don't know what tiered measure is, and neither does the public, so you have to really spell out what you're saying.
Okay.
For the general public.
Okay.
And I actually don't know what that means either. It's too complicated. I know you guys live it every day, but we don't, so you have to really explain to us.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, okay. So what this does is that, one, for high school students, we were able to look, Chrissy looked at, with the high school counselors, what students need. Are they able to graduate if they stay at a comprehensive high school? And if they are short, if they are a senior and they are short 25 credits right now in the fall, and they take courses during winter and courses during spring, extra courses, credit recovery, they can still graduate. What the tiered is that it looked at looking at students at different levels. So those students at that first level, they just need to be able to do winter session, fall session, and spring. If they were deficient over 25 credits and a senior, this won't help them. This is not what they need. And so we're really looking at and working with the counselors for these students. And then Chrissy, in addition, is already working with those students, and there's a plan for those students who, as Danielle asked, what happens for those students? So those students are being referred to Renaissance High School, and they're working with counselors and their parents to be able to make a plan for what is next in line with them.
Okay, so just to elaborate just a little bit, so we worked with UCSC counselors and our own counselors to make a call to each and every senior and their families. So each and every senior was called in by the counselor to develop a plan. So then, according to the number of credits, as was explained, then their options were given to them. So obviously, if they had 10 credits, if they just needed 10 credits, then their options were much broader than if the more credits that they needed. And then each parent then was, because when we first had this conversation, so Ms. Aguirre, Lewis, and myself, we had this conversation, what we said is we have to involve the parents, because what we want to remind the board, and they probably forgot because we've said it a while ago, is we only had about a third of our students go to summer school last year that needed the credit. So we had a lot sign up, and we only had about a third actually show up. So what that said to me is the parents need to know how important this is, so that when the student then says, whether it's intercession or it's concurrent credit recovery, because we have a lot of options according to how many credits they need, their options are different. We need the parent to say, no, Michelle, you actually are going to go to credit recovery. You're going to go to intercession because you want to graduate, right? Mm-hmm. Versus when we're in the moment and it's winter time and the parent and the child says, oh, I want to stay with my friend. And if a parent wasn't involved, then what happens is they can't then respond to the child and say, no, we made an agreement. We signed an agreement. So each parent came in and actually signed the agreement. Now, it's not truly binding, but it was the purpose. The purpose of that was for us to say we have a commitment to each other, right, for your child. And then, as they're explaining, in some cases, they can't earn enough, if they're a senior, they can't earn enough credits in a comprehensive high school setting. So they have to go to an alt ed setting. But that actually could be adult ed, Renaissance, new school, right? It could even be we don't want it as much, but it even could be summer of the following summer, right? Meaning that they wouldn't actually graduate with their current class, but they would graduate during the summer, which I can't remember how many we had this year.
I want to say there was like 15 to 20.
Yeah, so we had about 15 that did that this year. And so each one, when we're talking about tiers, kind of think of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's a little bit similar to that. So we had certain people call if they were 10 to 15 credit. We had other people call if they were 15 to 30. And then, as was mentioned, if you're over a certain amount, it probably is going to require an inter-district transfer to another school. But one thing that we have agreed on this year, which is different, is that if they do the credits there and get them, they actually can still walk with the school in which they're currently at. So if I'm a Watsonville High current senior, I can go to Renaissance and get those credits, and as long as I don't reduce my credits, meaning I start using Renaissance credits, then I can actually walk with Watsonville High and get a Watsonville High diploma. And so that's something that we're doing this year as we support students.
And just a quick question, is it true Renaissance is full?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not even close.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
That was very informative. Thank you for illuminating this point. So I don't think we have any speakers, do we, to this item? Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Motion
you.
carries 403. Okay, item 8.14, PVUSD Expanded Learning Opportunity Program and Career Technical Education Program Collaboration.
We are here.
Hi.
Good evening, President DeSerpa, Board Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Rodriguez. I'm Julie Edwards, the Coordinator of Career Technical Education, and I'm here with my colleague, Jen Littleton-Bruno, PVUSD Director of Expanded Learning. And we seek your approval tonight for our collaborative proposal from the Institute for Applied Tinkering. Our connected work reflects the shared mission of our departments and the work that we're doing together to serve our students with equity of access, opportunity to engaging academics, valuing and building on student, staff, family, and community assets and aspirations, providing our students with strong technical training and academics with a focus on skills, habits, and mindsets, and to authentically prepare our students to meet their college, career, and life goals in a more just and equitable world. The next slide. Great, thanks. So what we're bringing tonight is a proposal from the Institute for Applied Tinkering. In a minute, Jen will talk about the expanded learning portion of our joint work, and I'll talk a little bit about the CTE part. The Institute for Applied Tinkering provides high-quality, immersive learning experiences based on actual NASA and the Jet Propulsion Labs Mars rover training programs with an introduction to real-world robotics and programming concepts, exposure to planetary science and space-based communications using real physics and engineering skills and their applications. Their programs activate collaborative problem-solving, teamwork, time and project management, risk analysis, design, iteration, team knowledge acquisition, and provides learning for collecting and analyzing data in meaningful ways. We would like to partner with them in the CTE program to leverage their expertise in the development of a grant-funded land, sea, air, and space CTE pathway and to enrich the student experience in that pathway that's currently under development with the teachers and building the curriculum around a Mars mission component of that class. Students will have hands-on drone experiences to support their learning. They will help us to promote and recruit students into this new pathway and orient us to various devices, including something called a Mars sled, BoxBot robots. Each student is going to have their own robot to work with and learn how to program and use it in the largest Mars landscape outside of NASA. It's in San Francisco, and students will have remote access to that, just like they were going to be moving a rover around on the actual planet Mars. See, it's not boring. I'll turn it over to Jen to talk about the ELO.
All right. And so for the ELOP programming, we're looking at a niche group of students, our 8th graders who are moving into 9th grade. And we just really haven't been able to offer this group of students something to really pull students in. And so for this partnership program, we're looking at those students as a bridge program before they or as they go to high school to be able to work with those incoming 9th graders. So it will be a 2-week program. We'll run two-week programs during summer school for those 8th graders going into 9th grade, and they will make their own rovers. And so they will be working and collaborating together. Let's see. It's not going. What did it do? Okay. So they'll be working together on computers to be able to program these rovers, and then they will both be using the Scape that in San Francisco to move these, and they will also have physical rovers that they're working with. At the end of their 2-week program, they then will get to take those rovers home. This just seems like it will be a really great expansion and a way to bridge our middle school to high school program. So we ask that you approve this contract and partnership program.
No speakers to this item.
We do? No
No.
speakers. Okay. Any questions? Jen?
You know, I was listening on the radio today, and they were talking about how today is the 50th anniversary since we, the last launch to the moon. And just talking about the reinvigoration of the space programs, et cetera. And just that there's opportunities you know, and what I particularly appreciate about our CTE programs is how it opens up opportunities for our students. And I'm just excited about this new opportunity. So thank you. And I'd like to move to approve.
I have a quick question. Maybe
Okay.
you covered it, I missed it. So this is going to be that transition period, right? So it's 8th grade going into 9th grade. And would it be a program that's offered to all 8th graders or just a specific number of students?
So we will have 50 spaces, and I have to say that in the time that I've been here and running summer program, getting 50 incoming 9th graders is been a stretch, and so I really hope that this will actually pull those 8th graders to come. So I hope that we'll be able to get anyone into this program that is interested in it.
Okay, any other questions? Can you say again, and I'm sorry if I missed it, so this is grant funded? What is I'd like, in the future on these executive summaries, it'd be great to see, where does it say? Oh, is that why I'm missing it?
So
Very top.
Oh, it is right
these
there.
are
I'm so sorry.
these are both fully grant funded. So this will be coming out of the ELOP for the expanded learning side.
And CTE grant funding for the CTE piece.
Okay, great. And then Maria just asked, but I'm sorry, I was focusing on that because I was looking for it. What kids are getting this? I heard you say 8th going into 9th, but which schools?
So for the expanded learning portion, that will be open to all middle school students that are in 8th grade going into 9th grade will be able to apply for this program.
Okay, because we just have so many vulnerable kids, I think, at Pajaro and Rolling Hills. Oh, so anyway, hopefully we can do some recruitment, some outreach to the parents.
You know what I'm thinking? Since you're targeting that population, we do have the Algebra Academy at Rolling Hills Middle School. So be interested as a recruitment tool to reach out to that group if we're having a hard time
Yeah, great idea. Yeah.
recruiting students. I think that will
Thank
be a
you.
starting point.
Mm-hmm. And we'll also we typically work with Gear Up every summer to be able to work on recruiting and with the counselors so that we're able to recruit students who both want to go and students who may not select to go, but that really could use the safe space.
Okay, great. We have a first. I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
work.
Sorry.
Item 8.15, a memorandum of understanding for interagency information sharing between PVUSD and the Santa Cruz COE, County
Yeah.
Office of Ed.
Thank you so much. So as we continue to do more and more with a K-16 collaborative, so there's a K-16 collaborative that actually includes 5 counties in which we're going to be receiving pretty significant funding from. Part of that is really looking at how are we performing as a county, and then how are we performing comparatively with the county. And so all of the school districts within the county have been entering into this agreement. This is a de-identified database. What that means is they will know demographic data such as the student is Latino, English learner, male, those type of things, but special education receives special services, but there will be no names or no identifiable data. And so as it says in number 3, it's de-identified data. And so there really is minimal to no risk of the data getting out, because what it will just allow us to do is do a lot of aggregation of data. It isn't meant to be that it specifically is looking at individual students and how individual students are performing, but it will give us a lens into how are we serving, for example, our English learners compared to the rest of the county, and be able to engage in both grant writing and also some of the work that we're going to be doing around the K-16 collaborative. The main partners in that K-16 collaborative for this area is UCSC, the COE, and then PVUSD are the three main partners. And then, as I mentioned, it's 5 counties, so it goes all the way down to Santa Barbara. And so I asked for approval for this agreement so that we can continue to share data. They obviously have access to most of our data already, but this will give them access to some of our internal data, like map data and other things that we want to be able to share and look comparatively.
Okay, any speakers?
No speakers to this
Okay, any questions from the board? Jen?
You answered the question I had about protecting student privacy in your comments, so I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 403. Thank you. Next up is item 8.16, agreement with People Bench.
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited about this because this is something fairly new and innovative. So we have been, for the last several years, we've been doing work around how is the wellness and social emotional well-being of our students through Sown to Grow. However, Sown to Grow is only appropriate for children. So it's been research-based for 2nd grade through 12th graders. And so as you heard tonight, there is obviously there is significant conversation around pay, but there is also significant conversation around well-being. And so what this will allow us to do is really look at what they call the workforce resilience. And so whether it is conversations about being burnt out, frustrated, what I love about this is it's a 5 minutes. It is just a 5-minute survey that all staff, not just teachers, but all staff will take. It is also de-identified, so I'm not even able to know which result is which, but it will provide us an aggregate as it shows it's de-identified. But what it will show by site and then by district, it will be able to show how staff is doing in 7 key areas. And the reason why I think this is so important is because it's not just good enough to know that people feel frustrated or people feel anxious, but what is most important is then that we can do something about it. And so what this will do is it will tell us which one of the 7 factors is really missing in terms of the workforce resilience. So, for example, there are 7 of them. They are living authentically, finding your calling, maintaining perspective, managing stress, and the maintaining perspective and managing stress internationally has been where people have seen that they need additional support. And then interacting collaboratively and staying healthy and building networks are the 7 things. And so once we have this data, then what we would be able to do is, let's say that managing stress comes up, then we would be able to work with our mental health clinicians, our social emotional counselors, our behaviorists to develop strategies around that so that we can really help support our staff around these measures. So this company is international. They're from Australia. They've done they have been working in schools for the last 5 to 6 years, all mostly in Australia and Europe. And so we engaged with them. Normally, this would cost us about $100,000. They, because we told them that we wanted to have more of a partnership with them and we wanted to be able to be supporting their development of it, they actually reduced the cost to what we requested, which was $24,000. And it is for an 18-month period. So we're going to be able to use it this second half, and then we're going to be able to use it all next year as well. Staff won't be required to take it, but We are going to be giving time within a staff meeting in order to do it, and the more staff that take it, and then we do something with it, I believe more staff will take it, and so we're going to be giving it up to 3 times a year. This current year, likely it will just be once because we'll most likely not do it until February. But I think it will be a good first step on really gauging wellness and resilience of staff. And so I request the approval of this item.
Do we have a speaker?
We do. Nellie?
Good evening. All right. I mean, I could tell you right now that you just saw authentically from quite a few people who have found their calling in education that they need prep time. One of the things that we have asked this year to accommodate for all their loss of prep, give us our Wednesdays. Don't use it up with PD. Just let them have Wednesdays to be in their classroom to give them the time to prep. That would actually help them manage their stress. It'll also give them time to go and interact collaboratively with their colleagues and maybe even build some other networks. Potentially, people won't quit, and that'll allow you to build your networks because you'll actually have staff members, and then hopefully people would, with a raise, then we can attract people to this district. So, you know, it's gathering data, cool. Gathering that input. I mean, we send out surveys to our members to figure out, like, what is it that we want to advocate for? We use Google Forms, and, you know, Roddy and I spend many hours having to create something it's hard to make questions, but we do that work. We don't get to spend 24 grand. So I just want to talk about, like, how we use our money. You heard the scare tactic of, oh, you know, the sky's going to fall potentially, you know, with the recession. Well, according to an LA Times article, the Department of Finance called this estimated shortfall, this, you know, as a realistic and reasonable assessment of the work that lies ahead, and basically going on to address that Governor Newsom planned for this. Our rainy day fund has a rainy day fund. So even the LAO assessing the situation, evaluating what could potentially come with the financial impacts, they still say that we would get at least another 8.4 COLA for this next year. So we're healthy, 4th largest economy in the nation. So, or in the world.
Thanks.
But 24 grand to find out what your people want. You can find some cool things out, but our people are saying, give us the time that we're losing to filling vacancies.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Anyone on this side? I can comment while you're thinking. Okay. So in healthcare in the hospital, we use something like this. We call it employee engagement. And we all take an online thing, and it gives our managers and our bosses and our C-suite an understanding of how satisfied we are and how potentially will we be retained as employees, where can they do a better job. It's very transparent, it's completely anonymous, and it's very helpful. And we've been able to address a lot of the complaints that have come in, and year after year we've seen our engagement scores go up and the participation go up. The other thing is we have, and I'll show you later, we have an app called Wellness, I think it's called Wellness at Work, that has like multiple resources on there, including our EAP phone number if we need counseling support, like mindfulness app. There's just really a lot of super good things on there that we might consider in the future. So I'd be in support of this. Thank you.
So I'm assuming that once we gather the data that we need, if this is approved tonight, we're going to come up with an action plan to address those needs, right? So I guess that's just my concern. I just want to make sure that we're going to take this data and we're going to take it seriously. We're going to look at those findings and actually have a plan in place to implement strategies to address those concerns, and some of them might be negotiated items. So I'm wondering if once we get the information, this will be brought back at a future meeting for further discussion on what those findings were and the plan to address those concerns.
So one thing that this process has, it actually has an already filled in action plan that you then can customize from that. So I think we've shown that every survey that we've given out, we use the results. So we do have youth truth. So that got brought up before is, well, you have youth truth. So what's the difference? So youth truth is looking at the system as a whole versus this is very intrinsic and focused on the well-being of the person versus the well-being of the system. And so, you know, I have teachers that say, you know how students are doing. Do you know how staff is doing? And the answer before, except for very observational, was no, not really, right? And so some were like, well, you know, do you use, you know, I forgot the name of it. I can't tell, I'm getting tired. What are Sown to Grow? Do you use Sown to Grow with adults? And the answer is no, for two reasons. One, it's not built for adults, but then two, it's identifiable. And so the importance with this is that it's very private and it's identifiable. It's non-identifiable. So even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be able to look up how someone was doing, because that's not the point. The point is to look at the workforce in general and then to create an action plan around that. And so that's our intent. We, whether it's youth truth or it's thought exchange, we always do work off of our surveys. Otherwise, we always say, why do it? But most likely we will choose the top two of those categories that come out the lowest and then do action plans around those top two.
As you formulate that plan, that's going to come back to the board for approval.
Yeah, because
Just-
it
just
most
like
likely will
everything
have some
else.
financial, could
Yeah,
have financial
implications.
impacts, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Did somebody move there? I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Motion carries 403. Thank you. Okay, we're almost to the end of our action items. Item 8.17, call for nominations to CSBA's Delegate Assembly.
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend to the board that we table this item for the upcoming board meeting. I don't feel that we have enough standing board members really to do it. I understand that there's three. Doesn't mean that the three couldn't decide to do it later on. It's not due until the 7th of January, and so we do have the ability to bring it back next week if we want and be able to do this nomination. It goes a little bit with organizational meeting, and so it's really not out of line of where we were going with the organizational meeting. So that's my recommendation to the board, is to bring it back to next week's board meeting and do it within the organizational meeting. And so if you would, I should have done it at when we did the approval of the agenda. I just didn't really think about it until now. We are missing, you know, 3 people that might choose to be part of this. So.
Mm-hmm. So that's a nice recommendation, but we still could decide right now if somebody is interested in, you know.
I think we should wait.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll table it then. Do we need a vote to table?
No, we can just let it be moved.
Okay, one of the things I think that would be helpful is to know what the time commitment is and where. Do we have to drive to Sacramento? Is it virtual, et cetera? So I don't think that was in the backup that I read anyway. Is the last paragraph?
So I mean, that can be a discussion that can be had at the next board meeting as well, as folks are considering.
Okay. So I'm sorry, we don't need to vote on tabling?
You do
No?
not.
Okay, great. So next up is our consent agenda.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and as, again, a thank you to the Aptos Sports Foundation for their donation and for the donators to the Lagasse Culinary Garden and Teaching Kitchen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Motion carries 403. The consent agenda was accepted.
All right.
Item 12.1, action report on closed session.
Okay, under closed session, item 2.1, I move to approve the certificated personnel report as presented by the district administration on December 7, 2022, with 4 and 2 additional action items.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403.
Under closed session, item 2.2, I move to approve the classified personnel report as presented by the district administration on December 7, 2022, with 18 and 13 additional action items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 403.
All right, and under closed session item 2.6, the board voted with a 403 vote to approve a settlement agreement with 2 PUSD employees. And then I have three announcements. Okay, the Pajaro Valley Unified School District is pleased to announce the selection of J. Brooke Hopkins to the position of Coordinator of Research and Assessment. Brooke has been teaching in PBUSD since 1999, when she began her career as a 2nd and 3rd grade teacher at Ansoldo Elementary. She then became a literacy coach, and from there moved into the academic coordinator role at Ratcliffe Elementary. Most recently, she has been serving as the principal of H.A. High Elementary since 2018. Brooke holds a bachelor's degree in child development from San Jose State, a multiple subject teaching credential from UCSC, and a master's in educational leadership from San Jose State, along with an administrative credential. We're excited to welcome this highly accomplished educator to her new role. Under announcement number 2, Assistant Director of Maintenance and Operations, Sergio Ambriz. On behalf of our Superintendent and the District Administration, we are pleased to announce Mr. Sergio Ambriz's promotion to Assistant Director of Maintenance and Operations. Mr. Ambriz has worked for the Pajaro Valley Unified School District for 6 years, starting as a maintenance specialist and most recently as Supervisor of Maintenance and Operations. He brings to his new position a broad background in various trades such as plumbing, carpentry, and HVAC, to name a few. His knowledge and understanding of the maintenance and operation systems of the district are invaluable as he begins his new position. He is skilled at problem solving, safety compliance, and leading construction projects. He cultivates productive working relationships and instills confidence and trust in those he works alongside. We're proud to promote Mr. Ambriz to our Assistant Director of Maintenance and Operations. He looks forward to serving the district and continuing the good work of improving district facilities in his new role. And announcement number 3, Supervisor of Food and Nutrition Services Operations, Travis Sanchez. On behalf of our Superintendent and District Administration, we're pleased to announce Mr. Travis Sanchez's appointment to Supervisor of Food and Nutrition Services Operations. Mr. Sanchez has over 8 years of experience in the food services industry with a strong background on overseeing safety, marketing, and nutrition in large-scale food operations in both San Francisco and Los Altos. He created and wrote a comprehensive training manual and implemented a training program for staff. Mr. Sanchez is a strong leader, committed, and hardworking. He's an excellent problem solver and calm under pressure, no matter how difficult the situation is around him. Mr. Sanchez is well-liked, kind, and constantly supports and motivates any staff working for him. He looks forward to serving the district and continuing the good work on improving our food and nutrition programs for students. We are proud to welcome Mr. Sanchez to his new role as Supervisor of Food and Nutrition Services Operations. And that's all for closed session.
Thank you. I think we're done. Upcoming board meetings, this is item 13.1. Our next board meeting will be December 14th. And it'll be our annual organizational meeting where we elect new officers on the board. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.